everyone! Welcome back to another commentary podcast. I'm Captain Logan.
And I'm Eric.
And Eric and I are finally going to tackle The Matrix Reloaded today. Eric, when was the last time you saw the beloved Matrix sequel?
I was probably like teenager, late teenager.
Oh, has it been that long?
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't go back to it.
Yeah.
But
and I've gone back to it a lot.
When I was younger, when I was a teenager, I had The Matrix and I had The Matrix Reloaded. And at some point, The Matrix got a scratch, and I couldn't watch it anymore.
Oh.
And so I watched The Matrix Reload. I've actually probably seen Reloaded more than I've seen the original, but solely because my Matrix DVD had a scratch, I couldn't watch it.
That's really funny.
But it's probably been at least a decade. And the older I get, the more I find myself saying that, and it really depresses me.
So, I mean, do you feel the same way, and obviously we'll get into this real soon, but do you feel the same way that a lot of fans of The Matrix and just, you know, people who watch these casually did, where, like, these, you almost don't even want to count the sequels, where, like, The Matrix is a great movie.
I know you like Reloaded, I do not. I think Reloaded is incredibly boring.
I don't know if I can say I like it ironically exactly, but I fully appreciate its flaws. I will complain a lot, but I have a lot of nostalgia for this movie.
Even the stuff that's not supposed to be boring, like, I think that car chase is boring.
I agree a lot more now. In the theater, it was thrilling. There was a lot of stuff in it that I hadn't necessarily seen before.
And I didn't get to see it in the theater. I saw 3 in theaters, but this one I watch before 3 comes out. So in that window between the two films.
Wow. See, and the thing is, I think I almost have like an Avatar thing with this, where it's like, if you haven't seen it the way it was intended, you haven't seen it. That's not, I don't really mean that, but like, Matrix Reloaded was a consummate popcorn movie, which is not what you want from The Matrix, you know? Mm-hmm. I mean, like, yes, The Matrix was a big action movie, and it was a spectacle, and it was all about the visual effects, but it's also really thought-provoking, and so you don't want your sequel to The Matrix to be a thing that is trying, you know, desperately to be thought-provoking, but at the end of the day, it's kind of just a popcorn movie, and that's how a lot of people feel about this. There are ideas that you can latch onto that are interesting, but maybe we didn't do enough with, maybe it doesn't match up enough with what came before. That's very distracting. But this was a roller coaster ride. It's meant to be seen in a movie theater. And I got to see it when it came out, when I was working at a theater. So I went, like, you know, 7 or 8 times, and it was a bonding thing for my wife and I, because
we met 3 days of your life.
Yeah, that's right, because it's long, and we should get into it. But my wife and I met shortly after it came out. She and I saw the third one in the theater together, which was, you know, underwhelming, to put it mildly, and kind of unfortunate that the only one she saw in the theater was
the only one I saw in the theater.
Well, that's unfortunate for you as well, because I didn't get to see the first one in the theater. I didn't know about it until a couple years after it came out. I think I told this story on the first commentary, but a friend of mine in high school lent me a DVD player, because I didn't have one yet, to watch The Matrix. He said, don't watch it on VHS, you have to see it on a DVD player. And that was the first thing I ever saw on DVD.
And it was one of the big movies that they used in the, like, if you don't own a DVD, you remember those
I think it may have been one of the first DVDs that came out.
I disagree that it's a consummate popcorn movie. I think it's intellectual.
It felt that way when I was watching it.
Okay, I think it's intellectual, and it's, like, least common denominator have both the same problem, which is, compared to the first one, I think the consummate popcorn movie thing is bloated. I think the action is bloated, it's elongated, and it's there too much. And I also think the interesting philosophical ideas are now pretentious.
Yeah.
I think this is just more. I think it's a consummate popcorn sequel.
Yeah. Yeah, and it does have sequelitis. Absolutely. Well, let's go ahead and get into it.
Let's actually watch it.
Sure,
so
absolutely.
I can go home before midnight.
Yeah, I know. It's not a short movie. So at the moment that we are recording this, Reloaded, as far as I know, is not really available anywhere for streaming. I would assume
is it not on HBO Max?
At some point Max will get it. It's not right now. I don't know if it was at launch and they left. It was on Netflix for a while for the anniversary, and then they pulled it, and now none of them are anywhere. I think maybe Animatrix is still on HBO Max, because that's how we watched it.
Yeah. Where it's out of order. I looked that up, by the way. That is the version that they released in Australia.
What?
There is no explanation on Wikipedia. why it's cut differently, but it said that in Australia it was released that way, and it was the order that we watch on HBO Max. It also has no explanation or even mention that that's the version that's on HBO Max.
Or why they would have picked that one.
Yeah, I don't.
Very strange. Okay, well, thanks for doing some research into that, because we were
I think it's Australia. I looked when we recorded the previous one.
We were absolutely mystified by that order.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Get a timestamp 0 if you've got the DVD or Blu-ray. I believe there's only one cut of this, so we should all be able to sync okay. And everybody get ready to press play when I say now. Here we go. Everybody, please press play right now.
God, could you imagine an extended cut for these movies? Like a Lord of the Rings
If we had a Lord
style,
of the Rings kind of thing? Yeah. That would be unfortunate. Eric, I just... My enjoyment of this, I can't even say appreciation, is completely illogical. Like, I get excited when I turn this movie on. I'm excited right now to watch it with you. I really am. We're probably going to spend most of the time just saying, and that's a mistake, and that shouldn't be there, and this doesn't fit with the first movie. But man, it was thrilling when I first saw it, and I've in like multiple viewings over the years has never completely disintegrated my enjoyment of this movie. I go through the trilogy. I used to go through the trilogy once a year, and I don't like that last movie at all. But the problem is, this is half a movie, so I can't watch it and not watch the last one. Although I do put it in the background sometimes by itself.
I want to say up front, because I'm going to complain a lot about this not matching the first movie.
Absolutely.
That can be acceptable if the movie is good. I do not think The Dark Knight is a great sequel or fits great with Begins. But that movie is good enough that doesn't really matter to me. This is one of those things where, like, it's death by a thousand cuts. Where, like, not only does it not match the first movie, but it's the rest of it is also nonsense.
Well, and the reason those two
that doesn't make sense. Does it? That's an analog clock. That's not a digital clock. I mean, I guess it's all in the Matrix.
It makes sense in the sense that we were looking at Matrix code, and that clock is Matrix code.
Yeah, it's in the Matrix.
Yep, but that's it. And then it also gets kind of weird because what we're watching right now is actually a dream that will happen.
In her dream, did she go through the code?
It was not her dream. It's Neo's dream.
In Neo's dream, did he see Matrix Reloaded go into that logo, go into the code?
I would assume that after his character arc in the first movie, he only dreams in Matrix code.
Well, they all see Matrix code, or they can read it. They can read it normal.
They can read it, but he can go into the Matrix and see it in code.
And I get the impression the first movie that's all he sees in the Matrix, but we don't really revisit it in this, do we?
There are shots where we see things from his perspective, and it is Matrix code, but I don't know if he can turn it off and on. I don't know if it's like detective vision or what. So I should mention, I was talking about something a minute ago, but we'll talk about the scene. This is, of course, the first scene for the first movie again.
Yeah.
But the twist will be, we're actually seeing the future and it's Neo's premonition of the future.
And she fails.
Yes.
Do you remember the day I invented this scene?
What do you mean?
I was explaining to you a scene that I had, where someone is jumping off a building, shooting backwards, and someone jumps after them.
And did I say, "Oh, that's Matrix Reloaded"?
And I was like, "That's not how Matrix Reloaded starts." I was like, I can't come up with a scenario where it makes sense to jump after someone and keep shooting, but I have this vision of this scene. And you're like, that's the beginning of Matrix Reloaded. I was like, oh crap, it is.
I forgot about that conversation.
It is the beginning of the Matrix Reloaded. These bullet time effects don't look great, and I feel like they look worse than they did in the first one.
I agree, and that's why I can't help but he looks like Patrick Warburton if he was an Asian.
And the PS2 graphics are a thing people were complaining about at the time.
Yes,
specifically with the Smith fight.
Yeah, so I said, watching this in the theater a bunch of times, it was a thrill ride, and it needs to be seen on the big screen, and yet it's also got some kind of shoddy effects, but I still feel that way. I don't know why. It's not rational, my feelings about this movie. Or my enjoyment of this movie.
But, as I say constantly,
yeah,
there's a difference between liking and thinking something is good.
Of course.
You can like something and know it's not good. I like lots of things. I love the Riddick movies.
Yeah.
None of them are... Well,
Riddick is excellent.
Riddick is good.
Or at least pretty darn good.
I love Chronicles of Riddick, and you did watch that. It is not a good movie.
You know what? I enjoyed it, though.
And Pitch Black is kind of in between. But it's a bad movie.
And Pitch Black's boring.
I feel like there's 3 levels and we've lost that second level, like the ironic, like because now it's movies that are so bad they're good. No, there are movies that are bad that I genuinely like.
Yeah,
I don't like it because it's so bad it's good.
Yeah, that's exactly right. But much of the time when something doesn't hold, the thing is, I'll see something sometimes when I'm younger. I mean, like at 18, that's like getting out of childhood, and so that's right on the cusp of I've still got those things that going back 10, 15 years they don't hold up anymore. I have a hard time appreciating them. Maybe, and so I would think that this would be kind of like that, where it's like, oh wow, these effects. Like I thought the multiple Smith fight was amazing in the theater. And it doesn't hold up.
Which is interesting because even contemporary reviews criticize that fight.
Yes, they did. But I was a dumb kid.
Sure,
and so I'm just saying that, like, at the time, I didn't know no better. And
there's a lot of things I've gone back to lately where I'm like, these effects don't look like what I remember them looking like.
Yeah, and of course,
even The Matrix had that. I talked about how it looks like Beast
If
machines.
you have a great story, the effects aren't going to completely ruin whether a thing holds up. It just visually may not. But, I mean, the story in this, it falls apart pretty quickly, especially once you get the third movie. And so I'm just saying that I'm surprised that I'm still able to enjoy it as much as I do, like with all the flaws I continue finding in it, because I don't have that with things like Man of Steel. Like that got harder to watch each time I watched it, even though I loved it the first time. And so I was thinking maybe like over the years.
But it's not like baked into your DNA the way things you see early on.
That's right. Yeah. Well, and I was gonna say, like, maybe part of the reason that I don't have that problem with this is because I kept watching it. Mm-hmm. I don't know.
Yeah, there wasn't that gap where you went back and you're like, oh, it's different.
Yeah. I wanted to piggyback off what you said about Dark Knight. I started saying this a minute ago. So Dark Knight and
we saw that last time.
Yes, that's right. We got to see the final fight of the Osiris, and if you didn't watch that, you wouldn't know what she was talking about. It doesn't matter. It's just there's some ship that got destroyed in trying to bring them this information. I like her jacket.
Yeah. I like Ghost. That guy next to her, his name is Ghost. You can also play as him in the Matrix video game. Is it Enter the Matrix? Or is that the Neo one?
Enter the Matrix is the one that you can play as him.
You can play as him, and he has like no role in this movie.
Would be the Neo one.
Yes, of course.
Oh, yeah, I forgot that. That was the poster?
Oh, yes, it's the 3 of them standing together.
So, But
Dark Knight.
Dark Knight and Matrix Reloaded are made for completely different reasons. Matrix Reloaded is made to capitalize on a movie that sold really well despite itself. And I mean, they bring back directors that they like halfway sort of fired making the first movie, right? I mean, it's a very different sort of situation, and so they're trying to figure out how to catch that lightning again. It's sort of the Back to the Future situation. Back to the Future had obviously more successful sequels, but it's a similar thing in that they kind of keep making the same movie. They do it sort of cleverly with Back to the Future, but they weren't things that were intended to be a franchise. Mm-hmm. Batman Begins is called a thing that means we're going to make more of these, and Batman Begins was not hugely profitable. It did fine, but it wasn't like this big giant success, and Dark Knight is approached by the same director as a completely different project.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of people saw it first and viewed it as a standalone film.
And didn't even realize there was a movie. Yep. There was a first movie.
The glasses effects look a lot better than they did in the first one. That was really distracting to me rewatching the first one.
Yeah, I agree with that. Where they look more superimposed.
Yeah, where I'm like, oh, I know, like, I have seen YouTube videos from, like, YouTube critics that can do that effect on their eyes.
Yeah, well, it's been 17 years.
It has been 17 years.
Which is insane that it's been that long. Some of what I enjoy about this movie is that it's such a cartoon. I mean, I have to look at it almost as a different thing.
It's so polished compared to the first film.
Well, there's that, but also, I enjoy how over-the-top Smith is so much. It goes way too far in the third one. And I wish his backstory was explained in any way that I understood. Something changed, and now I'm different. All you need to know about Smith is that he's supposed to be a machine foil for Neo. That's all you need to know. Everything else is a conceit. I mean, the whole idea is supposed to be that they both want the same thing, but that Smith needs Neo to be destroyed in order for him to get that thing, which is freedom. I mean,
but why did it happen to Smith? Has Neo never killed another agent like that ever again? Like,
I guess not.
Like, okay, Like, but why not?
Well, that's a great
It worked
question.
well the first time.
Yeah, no, you'd think there would be a whole bunch of them. Like, you'd think there would be a whole bunch of agents, but they wouldn't all look like Smith. I never thought of that. That's a really good point. Yeah,
This seems
because he's
super
like
dangerous.
something was imprinted onto you or onto me, and I mean, I love that the writer basically just throws his hands in the air and says, "Well, we didn't really figure this out."
Yeah, they just don't care. It needs to happen. And
The worst thing you could write in a script is somehow.
but those are things like in a dumber movie you can get away with it. This movie tries to be too smart to get away with things like that.
So I gotta say this while we're watching it. One of my biggest issues in going back and rewatching this movie is cutscene is what feels like video game cutscene and then watching someone else play a video game. These agents walk in, they have a one-liner, we cut to Neo, he says a thing, and then the techno music starts, and now it's gameplay footage.
Mm-hmm.
They're not great setups for fights. Like, The Matrix doesn't really have that.
Yeah. I don't know if you agree with this.
It just feels like, and now we're going to fight. And the worst one is the Merovingian later. When we get there, I'm going to complain about it so hard it drives me crazy. We're like, your predecessors have more respect, and it is a snap thing, and then now you're playing a video game.
Yep.
Oh, I hate it.
Yeah, I have different issues with that fight scene, but that's completely fair. I don't know if you agree with this, but I have always thought this. One, I don't like Neo's coat as much as the first movie, but two,
Ooh, I love it.
It's a priest coat, right?
Yeah.
It is a priest coat with long coats, and he doesn't have the white collar.
Well, that's true, but you know when I found out what priest was? Like 5 years ago.
No, not the movie.
Oh,
priest.
not
I mean
priest.
a literal
You mean
priest.
a Catholic priest. You know, I've always thought that.
It is a Catholic priest coat.
Well, that's intentional, I'm sure.
I'm sure it is.
But does that make him his
assume.
own prophet? Because he's supposed to be Jesus, so why would Jesus have a priest coat?
I think it's just supposed to be like vaguely religious.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because it has
And he doesn't have the
more of
the
it is the
actual-
collar. Yeah, but he's got a collar that's kind of
But he doesn't have the white collar.
That's true.
And so I think it's supposed to be almost subconscious. Like, I don't think you're supposed to be thinking of it as a priest coat, but I've always viewed it as it is a priest coat.
Okay, so when he does the sort of Batwing thing here, it looks really bad.
It does.
When he goes up to the moon.
It looks better in Batman 89 when the ship goes up because that's
because it's
practical
model
effects.
work.
Yeah.
No, that actually looks awesome.
Yeah, it does.
No, when you say better, it looks a lot better because it looks good.
Do you think moving forward, like 1997...
That's that Superman Returns problem I have. Where it's like, you don't have the actor in CG. Like, oh my god.
Do you think that, like, 1997, or maybe like 1998 to like 2008,
Yeah.
are going to be much harder for later generations to go back to than, like, a movie from, like, 1987? Because of the effects? Like, specifically, like, it's going... I have been having a really interesting experience going back to things where more and more I'm like, I thought this looked good.
Yeah.
Or at least passable. Like, everything always looks worse than I think it does.
Movies-
Even when I think it doesn't look good, it looks worse than I thought it did.
Huge special effects movies from the 90s that children will be able to go back to in 40 years and not think too much about the effects. Jurassic Park.
Independence Day.
The Mask. And this is because so much of the effects are done practically. And I know The Mask has a lot of cartoony stuff,
But it's
a
supposed
lot
to
of
be
animation,
cartoony.
but it's supposed to look like animation, so it works. But the important thing is, Jim Carrey wore that thing on his face. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that's why it worked. And Jurassic Park will still be watched in 100 years because you can't tell any of the CG that's actually in it, except for like a couple of shots with the Velociraptors
And that's
in
because
the
it's a lot
kitchen.
less CG than you think it is.
That's right.
And why it's unfair that we still, to this day, compare things to Jurassic Park, because a lot of it is actually practical. But yeah, I think a lot of this stuff is going to be much harder to watch
Yep.
by like a 12-year-old in 2030 than Independence Day.
And the mistake is that we made is that we thought that we had reached the pinnacle of visual effects, or at least that seemed to be the attitude, man. It
And
was
we
like,
all believed it. Like,
Yeah.
we all watched it and shared like a cultural osmosis, like, this
it will
looks
never
good.
look better than this.
Or this looks awful. This is horrendous.
Yeah.
But I never thought that when I watched as a teenager.
And what's weird is a lot of the CG in this movie is about what TV CG looks like now,
Yeah.
or sometimes even that's a little bit better.
Yeah. Especially on like the bigger show, on the bigger like HBO.
And you could say, well, it's been 17 years, Cap. Of course, there's been a technological evolution. I agree with that. But the point Eric's making is that there are some movies from this era and in the 90s right before where we were careful to integrate things better, and we knew that the stuff didn't look good enough, so we were ambitious in the right ways, right?
Altered Carbon CGI looks better than this.
Which I've not watched yet.
But yeah, no, I agree. I think we leapt too quickly. I think we saw that we could do it, and didn't think about if we should do it. That guy looks like a jerk.
He does.
Oh, and we have Link now because
looks
Tank wanted too much money.
Oh, is that what it was?
Yeah, it was like one of those things where like his agent was
that
like,
Back
"They're
to
not going to
Future
make
2 thing."
Well, not exactly. I think he just didn't want to do it.
Oh, okay.
With Tank, I get the impression that his agent was like, "They're not going to make a Matrix movie without Tank. We want this much money," and they're like, "We will just write the same character as with a different name." And you know what? I think he's a better actor. I like him more. I think.
Are we talking about the black guy from Lost?
Is he from Lost?
Yeah.
Okay. Then yes.
Yeah, and he does that.
I like Link more than I like Tank, I think.
Yes, he's great. He's a good actor. He's also the angel in the Constantine TV show.
Oh, okay.
I've always liked that actor, and I was really excited to see him in Lost because, of course, I liked this movie, and that was just 3 years after this. Not too long from there. You'll also be surprised if you go back to Man of Steel to see the sheer number of actors from the Matrix movies that are in that. Locke is playing the exact same character he is in this.
Yes, he is.
He's just the same. He's just the same guy.
Yes,
the general Man of Steel.
I have never liked him.
This kid is obnoxious.
He is.
Oh, you're talking? Is that what you're talking about?
Yep. I've never liked him.
I don't like him. We talked about this before, but he's a different character than the one in Animatrix. I wish that character was in this movie.
Yep.
Because he's better.
He also kind of looks like Andrew Garfield, right?
Oh,
it's kind of distracting me a little bit.
Another actor that he reminded me more of, but it's not coming to me. I guess I can see that, sure.
And he is one of those characters.
You know what he looks like? He looks like a blend between Andrew Garfield and what's his face, the kid that played Harry Osborn in the second one.
Oh yeah.
He also looks a little bit like that kid.
This movie has
the Chronicle guy.
Yes. I can't think of it.
It's not coming to me right. Dane DeHaan.
Dane DeHaan. This movie. I want to talk about Zion and how much I hate Zion in general in a second.
Yep.
But this movie, and specifically with that kid, has a problem that a lot of these kinds of movies have when we do two movies as one movie, or we do one movie as two movies. Infinity War and Endgame have this, where there are certain character arcs that are an arc across one movie and then another movie, and then there are other character arcs that require both movies to pay off.
Yes.
That kid is not important to this movie.
No.
He is useless until the second or until the third movie, which I hate him in that movie even
more. We just
more.
need a plot device.
Yeah.
And they want us to pat them on the back for paying off something that wasn't set up as a thing that needed paying off really. It's like, okay, you just had this guy sitting around.
But if he was in this more and I came to care about him, that might mean more to me in the third movie.
They should have let him go on the ship.
Yeah, they should.
I mean, I don't want that because I don't like this guy.
But maybe I would if
for the sake of the story, and he's just, I mean, I realize everybody in the Matrix is a stereotype, but I guess, or an archetype. I guess he's an archetype I don't like, where he's that go-get-em kid who's too, what's the word I'm looking for? Eager to please.
But he's too earnest for this universe. Like, he's almost played like the way you would play him in, like, a 50s war movie, or like a 40s war movie.
Or Star Trek, because he is just Wesley Crusher.
Yeah,
and,
he is Wesley Crusher.
I'm not the first person to say
Wesley
that.
Crusher.
When we watched the third movie, and he has that his big moment at the end. Sarah whispers in my ear, "Wesley Crusher just saved the Enterprise," because that's what it is. Speaking of Star Trek, this is the Admiral from Insurrection, and I don't like Insurrection, but I like this actor, and he's the guy who gets his face stretched in that horrific scene where he dies because his face is all stretched. He's got a great speech in this movie. His exchange with Neo in the engine room is, or the engine area, I guess, is actually quite good.
And should be the core of this movie and the next movie, and I think they think it is, but they do not touch on it enough for it to be.
You talking about the whole idea of
that we're connected to machines, machines are connected to us.
Machines are trying to kill us, but we need machines in order to survive.
Yeah. It's a great idea that's not explored enough.
Because it's all about reliance on technology.
It's a great theme that's not explored enough.
Yeah. Because it's about finding that midpoint. Like, yes, we need machines, and the machines need us, and that should be the thing that can make us all come together in harmony, but it doesn't work out that way.
Well, and like
Or I guess it sort of does at the end of 3 in a not good way.
We kind of, largely agree that, human development kicks off with the discovery of fire. Tools are what make us not animals.
The fact that we're able to use them.
And we don't deal with
And we use them to socially evolve.
And able to hunt and
not only improve our station in life, but also improve ourselves as individuals. We become better by figuring that stuff out and invention.
It's a problem in the first movie. It's a bigger problem in this movie. They have no
chemistry at all. It's way worse here because all they want to do is have sex constantly, and you're just like, why?
And I don't believe it.
And he's, I need you, and she's like, I know, and I'm like, I don't know why. Yeah.
This is inappropriate. You know where you're going.
When you talk about chemistry between lovers in movies, it's I do this all the time. It's very easy to go back to Christopher Reeve and Margot Kidder, and one of the reasons that works so well is that on her own, as a character and as an actress, I don't find Margot Kidder especially attractive. From the lens of Christopher Reeve's Superman, she's wonderful.
Yeah.
That's why that works.
You buy that he loves her.
Yes.
And you buy that she's impressed by him.
And there are scenes where if you're really with him, you're kind of loving her also. That's what you want.
Yeah.
That scene's always funny.
Yeah. Okay, so I have major issues with Zion and the way it's presented.
Yes, let's get into that.
They're doing a kind of bait and switch thing, but they don't do it for the audience.
Okay.
Zion is not what we thought it was. We did not know that Morpheus was a fanatic and that most people didn't agree with him.
That's exactly right.
But we never present it to the audience as a reveal. It's just, because they've been living here, it's fact. Is that?
She's from Fire. That's the girl from Firefly.
Wow.
And she's the big bad from season 4.
Yes.
In Angel.
Yes.
And she's terrifying. She's wonderful.
Yeah, she is.
Whatever you think of season 4, her performance is insanely good.
Everything about Zion is intentionally inverted from what you thought it would be in the first movie.
Is it Zoe? Is that character's name?
In Firefly.
In Firefly, yeah.
Yes. But everything you thought about Zion is inverted.
Yes.
But it's not for you, the audience. It's not done the way that you're...
It feels just retroactive, right?
It's
feels
presented as if this is exactly what you were told Zion was.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like they know it's a surprise.
You're not supposed to be surprised.
But it should be surprising.
Yeah.
You would think
That's
if anyone didn't believe in Morpheus, they'd be the minority. There would be a small conspiracy that's like, I don't believe in the prophecy. Like that.
And it's just the downtrodden. It's just the people who are like in the most dire straits, it looks like.
Mm-hmm. The people in control don't believe in it. And you could do something interesting with that, where the people in control are they like being controlled and they don't like the idea of being usurped, and B, there are more downtrodden than there are people in control, so there are more people that believe, but there aren't. But we don't do that.
And we also don't explore this society and culture anything like enough for me to buy the whole homeless downtrodden thing. Because why, in a society with so few humans left, would you have any classism at all?
And why would you?
I mean, do you agree with that?
Yeah.
I sort of.
Why would you unlock so many people?
Yeah, I sort of get. People on the top maybe have it better and everybody else is lowly, but when you get to that party and you got all the people dancing around at the rave cave, you don't have the sense that all of those people are those destitute people that have their hands out for Neo to bless their children and all of that. It really feels like a classism thing, and I don't understand that.
Yeah.
These people don't all seem homeless in the same way. I don't get it.
It shouldn't be possible to have overpopulation. You literally control the number of people you bring into your society.
Well, that's not true because there have been generations enough that they are having children. And we know that because they were born free
That's
here.
True.
And
That's true.
But I would think that...
But you can still control that to some degree.
Yeah.
The people that you're pulling out.
But also, you don't even know if it's an overpopulation problem. It could be an issue in their system of government. Like, you don't know. I don't know how... anything
I also
works.
have no idea
is there money in the system? I don't know how anybody gets anything. Does everybody have to make their own stuff and pave their own way? How come in this cave scene everybody's holding torches when we know they have electricity? Like, I don't understand any of the. Is
why
Morpheus
do they all
using
love Morpheus?
Is Morpheus using a microphone right now? Yeah, and that's a good question too. Is it just like the plebes? Because you get the sense that they're kind of plebes. Is it just the regular citizens that are like almost all of them religious, but then there's dissent amongst the military and the government about whether or not Morpheus is right, or is it more people that disagree than agree? Because here's the thing, everybody's cheering him, and then he says, because I believe something you do not know, and I'm like, most of these people seem to believe what you believe. They're all applauding
And they're
you.
all excited when you walked out, like before you said anything, and they know who you are, and they know what you believe.
I don't get it. Now, I will say, I love the speech. I love it.
I don't know if I love the speech as much as I
way
love
he
the
gives
delivery. These machines!
Yeah, for the last 100 years! Maybe it's just the delivery.
But no, I have so many questions about... And part of it's because we're seeing the society through the eyes of the Nebuchadnezzar.
Yeah.
I have no idea if the uppers and the military are A, corrupt, and B, incompetent.
I get the sense of incompetence before corruption.
But I'm not sure if they're actually incompetent or they just don't believe in fairy tales. You know what I mean? Like, I don't actually know.
Is, if they pay it, like Locke seems like an idiot. Because if he would just pay enough attention to what's going on, he would know that Neo's able to do all these impossible things inside the Matrix. It's almost like he just doesn't want to deal with the Matrix. He just doesn't think that's important.
That from most of the uppers in the society is no one seems to believe in Neo's powers.
But then why do they?
I don't know how they explain it away. I'm
not with you on that. And I've watched this more recently than you have. But remember, the older lady on the council and the council in general, I guess, do they vote on? I assume they vote, but the council gives Niobe that other ship. Or tells Niobe, they pick another ship, and they send them out so that Neo can do the thing he needs to do. If most of them didn't take any stock at all in what Morpheus was saying, they wouldn't have sent that other ship out.
Yeah. But isn't it sent out, in spite of everything else?
I don't know.
Like, they just let her go and do her thing.
No, that's not what happens.
Okay.
In that, we'll see it here in a minute.
Okay.
Or in a little bit, anyway. In that scene, they say... I forget who it is that gives the recommendation. Is it Morpheus? But it's like, we need somebody else to tap into the Matrix and wait for Neo or whatever, and they ask for volunteers, and Niobe volunteers.
Okay.
Like, we need a presence in the Matrix.
Okay.
So I don't know. So we're about to see one of the longest, dullest, most pointless party scenes in the history of party scenes, and it's kind of infamous. Or at least I think of it as being infamous because...
I don't think people bring up the rave scene as much as they bring up, how unsexy and unromantic the love scene is.
Because my wife wants to skip this part every time we watch it.
And that's fair.
And she always thinks
once that speech is over, you just hit skip.
Well, yeah, because we're not progressing any story whatsoever.
And we're also not exploring Zion culture, which is what I think we're doing.
Yeah, and we're not. It's just, okay, there's a cool-looking cave, and there's all these people in it, and they're all dancing, and that's it.
I also hate that it's a rave. That is the Wachowskis being in their own head and their own life too much. We know the Wachowskis are ravers. It's in the first movie. I do not believe that the majority of people that come out of the Matrix are ravers. It's such a weird thing to do.
I agree with that. I don't know what you could do where we would all buy, that's the main thing that everybody would be. I don't know what it would be.
Raving's not it. It's also tribal raving, which is also weird.
And I guess it's just tribal.
More dancing, actual dancing, I think is...
Yeah. I guess it's tribal because they're in a cave, and so that just, like, it's the thing you think of. It kind of matches, I guess. And
It would be cool to be an extra in this scene.
Because there's that religious component. Yeah, with Neo.
Mm-hmm. Who isn't even there to party with the rest of the people.
He's too good for them.
He's
got candles and a naked chick.
Can they not sleep together on the ship? Can they not sleep together in the Matrix or in the load room? Like, I know that's not exactly the same thing.
So are you assuming that they're wanting to sleep together so bad because they never have?
I don't know if they never have. Because they've been to Zion before, but I get the impression that they are not doing it on the ship, and that's why they're dying.
I would think you'd have so much downtime on that ship. That you'd be
maybe the acoustics are very wrong for it.
Maybe it's not. Yeah, maybe it's just not comfortable. The bunks are bad.
I don't.
But no, you're right. Like I never thought about that. Like when they land, it's like the first thing we have to do is go have sex.
Yeah, I get the impression they weren't on the ship.
Okay. And I mean, in the first movie, obviously they're in separate rooms, but they don't get together until the end. And I don't. Well, no, we see them wake up together, don't we?
Yeah. They're definitely sleeping together.
Okay. So yeah, you're right. That is kind of strange.
Yeah, I mean that's the only way I can take it.
The way I'm going to take it is...
Because they live together, they sleep together.
What it actually represents is that they need, like, a honeymoon or a vacation or something, and we're just... The only way we can think to represent that is just have them constantly having sex.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Well, not about honeymoon or vacation. I think it's supposed to be like, look how in love they are.
Yeah. Yeah, but also they need time alone together.
And we're an R-rated adult film, so love can mean sex, which it doesn't in most PG-13 movies. We get to do this.
And it's also weird and awkward, not just because, like, it, of the way it's shot, we keep doing, close-ups on bare skin and stuff, and, like, it's awkward. But it's also awkward because you're rated R. If you really wanted to, you could show more.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying I need that or want that, but
we're
it is
not
kind
with
of
them,
weird
but
how...
we are with the crowd.
Yeah. Isn't that weird?
Yeah. I've always thought that was a strange choice.
Yeah.
But, well, because it's... I'm sure it's probably an actor thing before it's like an actual artistic choice.
Yeah.
But if it is an artistic choice, it almost seems like they're being pure and Zion is being sinful.
Interesting.
And I don't think that's what is trying to be interpreted. But it's weird that you're showing nudity and then
doing anything except going, we're having fun in spite of knowing that machines are coming to kill us. This may be, our kind of last big, hurrah.
It's just weird that we're cutting between nudity in a non-sexual situation. I mean, it's kind of sexual. It's dancing. But, like, not an intimate sexual situation. And then the actual intimate sexual thing is not eroticized. I know, it's very strange.
It's a
very strange choice.
And then the dissolves here are really weird.
I'm also not sure I could get into, like, constantly, like, rubbing against people's, like, weird nubs. The like, not nubs, nods.
Stop backing it off! Like, why do I need to know how much black space is around that, like a little,
because they're alone in the
notch
world.
Thing that,
they're alone in this moment.
I guess. Yeah, it's a strange choice. How do you feel about just the look of Zion itself?
I've never liked it, but I don't know what... Like, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just not what I would have done. But what I would have done probably would look too nice.
I think the problem is that I never wanted to see it.
Yeah.
Like, when you watch The Matrix,
Zion is where the party is.
There's no...
Zion is where you go at the end.
Yeah, and we just saw the party, and it wasn't that great, Okay, so they actually managed to surprise people with this, and it shouldn't have worked, and I don't know why it worked, but they got me also. I think it's because this happened so early in the movie, you just forget all about it. Mm-hmm. Is that what it is? Where Smith takes over one of our Matrix guys, and he goes back to his ship, and Smith is able to possess a human being. He gets his programming inside of him. And he starts, doing machinations behind the scenes that we don't know about. And then at the end, we're gonna reveal that guy is the one. Is Bane? He's Bane. That's his name. He's Bane. And he's the guy that Smith took over but you'll find out that he's in a coma and he's laying right next to Neo. And the first time when you get to the end of this that I saw that, you get that reveal, I'm like, who's that guy? Like, I had completely forgotten that even happened.
I don't remember a reaction specifically for myself, so I can't speak to that.
When you see this the first time,
but it happens so early. I had forgotten that happens before Neo meets Smith.
Yeah,
I always think of that as his introduction to this movie.
Yeah,
I forget that scene is that early.
Well, and
I also don't know if I fully understand.
If they
Why wouldn't he just be doing that to everybody? Just keep getting people. Like, have a bunch of Smiths in the real world.
Maybe they're just not finding enough people from there because there's not that many people jacking in.
Yeah,
is the thing. Remember, all the ships are here.
Yeah,
I mean, it's only like 2 ships in the whole movie that jack in.
Okay, I guess that makes sense.
After that first scene, because it's like they recall every ship because they need them for the battle, the really boring long battle we're gonna see at the end. I think part of the reason I like this guy is because I really his whole not liking to sleep thing, and I like the idea of I was in the Matrix for so long, I don't like to sleep because I feel like I slept a lot of my life away. I love that.
Yeah, it's an interesting twist on the I'll get plenty of sleep when I'm dead. It's like the reverse of that, where I was like, I was sleeping the majority of my life.
Now I gotta live.
Yeah,
I think this might. So 2 things. This, again, I love the scene. In some ways, it's maybe the best scene in the movie, or it's one of the better scenes in the movie.
I agree with that.
It's the most like kind of classic talky science fiction scene where they're actually discussing the ideas behind the film.
Well, what should be the ideas behind the film?
Yes, in a thoughtful way.
Yeah,
and because of that, it's also one of the scenes that most feels like it belongs in the first movie.
And I also
because we had those scenes in the first movie.
Yes. This doesn't feel too much of... Part of it's because it's not the theme of the next 2 films, but it doesn't feel too much like it's like, and now we're going to tell you what the theme is. I legitimately believe that this guy's been thinking about this.
Yes, absolutely.
It feels natural, it feels human.
Well, that's what I mean, is that, yeah, they explicitly talk about the ideas of the movie, but they're establishing them in, like, a believable character way. No, it's great. And like... You'd think that you'd have people like this that would be considering these things.
Mm-hmm.
It ends up feeling like he's the most thoughtful person in Zion.
And he doesn't get enough to do after the scene.
No, he doesn't.
You feel like he should be important.
And, of course, again, everyone in the Matrix is an archetype, so his archetype is wise old guy.
Yeah.
But it's a wonderful performance.
I feel like the archetype...
And for a guy that has so little screen time, he really gets this material.
Yes. I feel like the archetype thing, which we kind of praised in the first film, in the Star Wars mold, is working against them in this film.
Because everybody feels one-dimensional before they feel like fun plays with archetypes.
And that's because we've completed the hero's journey. And, we don't really...
Yes.
That's...
It has the Star Wars prequel problem, to some degree, where you have, great actors that are cast as nothing characters.
Yeah. And, Star Wars is kind of smart in that, it doesn't do the entire hero's journey in A New Hope. A New Hope is part of the hero's journey, but, there is more to it.
Yeah.
They did the whole thing.
That's true.
He self-actualizes at the end of that movie.
That's absolutely right. Yeah, he has his descent into hell. He dies and is resurrected. That's his descent into hell.
It's all done.
Yep.
The ending can even be interpreted as him returning home, a changed man.
I agree.
We're now off the playbook. They're having to... It's not such a classic story, and I think they're struggling with that, and are not strong enough storytellers, at least at this point. Maybe they are now, I don't know. We'll see what happens with 4, but I don't feel like they're strong enough storytellers to do the non-traditional storytelling they're attempting to do.
Yeah.
And I think they were able to get away with that stuff in the first film because they were using such a traditional story structure.
That's a great point, yeah.
Neither of these movies, either separately or as a whole, have anything that I think is resembling a traditional story structure.
No, but if you did, it sucks, because you're almost damned if you do and damned if you don't, which is why a Matrix sequel would have been, like you suggested in, I think, both of our other commentaries, would have been better served with... new characters or different eras, jumping around, doing prequel stuff or Far in the Future or something. Because they're trying not to repeat themselves. And in so doing, they end up repeating themselves. Like they don't want to do the Campbell thing again.
Yeah.
Like you're talking about. And so they don't do that, but what you end up with is just kind of gobbledygook video game.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
With some interesting ideas that you're not able to really... It's so unfocused. It's a completely unfocused movie.
Yeah. And I want to know whose idea it was, because the story I've always been told, and the Wachowskis don't do interviews, so, like, a lot of things are, like, I think almost, like, rumor level.
Okay, we do cut back to Bane.
Yes.
But again, the problem is, we don't keep cutting back to him. We're going to do this here. And then, we do a couple more times. He's going to be at the council meeting, and he's going to go, he's going to go, he's going to talk to his captain, and he's going to go, we should volunteer. And he's going to go, you shut your hole, Bane.
He has really good Hugo Weaving eyebrows.
He's spectacular. He is one of the unsung heroes of the sequels. Because he does a perfect Hugo Weaving impression without it feeling too much like an impression.
Yeah.
It feels like the same performance. That actor disappears, but what's even more impressive is he disappears and replaces himself with another actor, which is different than doing an impression. It's amazing.
And it's very good, or it's very... You
think that spoon reference is just there because that was so memey?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I don't dislike it, but... Anyway, I'm sorry.
It worked out very well for them. That Hugo Weaving is so distinct as an actor and as a person, because that makes that kind of thing much easier.
It's easy to character.
Like in Face Off, I think Travolta does an amazing Nick Cage, because Nick Cage is very easy to capture.
Travolta, not as much.
Yeah, and I don't think Nick Cage does as good as Travolta. I think Nick Cage is a better actor than Travolta, but when given the right material in the right direction. But, so I think Travolta's amazing in Face Off. I think he gives, but I don't know, there's a level of that. We're like Jack Nicholson, I don't think you could do without doing an impersonation. There's just a very distinctness to it.
So part of the problem with doing, and again, I'm going to keep saying this, but this feels like a cutscene.
I do love his sunglasses.
And I think part of the problem, too, is we keep cutting to side views so it feels like a fighting game.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And I get that we do some of that in the sparring match in the I Know Kung Fu scene in the first Matrix movie, but it's the only scene that doesn't, and there's a lot more angles, and, like...
But it's also how we shoot a lot of older Kung Fu movies, like especially with this setting, we're probably doing some of that. And that's also the Kung Fu scene in the first movie. Like, we're doing this, I think, because this is how you do Kung Fu stuff.
But it's just too repeated.
I wish this guy was in it more. I like him a lot. I think he's got really good energy. I like his costuming.
Yeah.
And then he just stands next to the Oracle.
Yep.
And eventually becomes a Smith.
I think so. Well, everybody becomes a Smith.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
By the end, that's the whole thing. Is Smith completely takes over. He's the inversion of Neo. Neo is about making everybody free, and he's about assimilating everybody.
Mm-hmm.
His freedom is turning the world into himself. He's like the ultimate narcissist.
But, like, this scene is so unnecessary because...
And Neo is supposed to be Jesus, so he, gives himself up completely, is supposed to be the idea. And so he's about the epic sacrifice.
Because Neo's already met the Oracle. This is not a new character he's meeting. She already knows who he is.
And why does he need to know? He's like, well, you never know who someone is until you fight them. And I'm like, you're just the right-hand man of the Oracle. Like, why do you need to know who he is?
I guess it's to keep her safe. Like, anyone can come in and say they're the one, but it just feels like I wouldn't have second-guessed him if Neo walked in and he said, right this way. Right? Like, I wouldn't be like, oh, he's not great. Like, she knows who he is. We know who he is. It's unnecessary.
So in the first movie, we have the line from Morpheus, wonderfully delivered. They are holding. They have all the doors. They are holding all the keys. And in this movie, we discover that was literal.
I also really don't like the line "you never know somebody till you fight them," because that's a line from like a kung fu movie set in it's not medieval period. I don't want to be like super stereotypical America. I can't remember what it's called in Japan.
Feudal Japan?
Yes, feudal.
Yeah.
Sorry, not Japan. China. Is it feudal China?
Well, no. Feudal Japan. I can't think of it.
Yeah. We
don't want to pretend like we know anything we don't know.
The classic historical kung fu movies. That line makes sense in that setting where everyone's a fighter.
Yeah.
This is not exactly that, and it just feels weird to me that...
Yeah, it's like in this world, well, I guess you're not going to know anybody because you're going to get arrested.
So, like,
every
has he
time.
fought the Oracle? Does he know the Oracle because they have sparred?
Well, look, it's possible, okay, because she's a computer program, and who knows what she's actually capable of.
And she can predict his every move because she knows what he's going to do.
Yeah, she might be a shapeshifter. You don't know. No, I'm kidding. We know she's not, because she's going to have to take another form that is just some other black woman that looks a little bit like her, but just had to get recast in the sequel.
With much worse hair.
I hated her the first time around, and each time I go back to that movie, I like her performance a little bit better. It was just that, like, well, you're not the Oracle thing, and it's like, what are you going to do? I mean, I think they could have done... I think they could have written that better than they wrote it, but if you have to recast it, she did as good of a job as anybody could have. And I've seen her in other things, I think. She's a decent actress.
I really dislike this conversation. Pretty much everything we do with the Oracle moving forward in these two films, because they are entry-level college philosophy, like... I asked you to sit. Were you going to sit before I put the thought of sitting into your head? Like, it's very unthought-provoking. Except for, like, when you're a teenager and you've never thought about
You're
these
saying
kinds
we're
of things.
pretending like it's deeper than it is. And I know in the first movie we didn't have that problem as much. The whole, like, know thyself thing and all of that.
Yeah.
Like, that felt like we were actually onto something.
Yeah. But, like, here it's a lot of, like, fortune cookie philosophy kind of stuff where it's just, like this.
Yeah.
Like, it's because it's about the illusion of choice, but it's not really about the illusion of choice, and not in a thoughtful or thought-provoking kind of way.
No, it feels really plotty. It feels really plot-driven. It's like the plot is Neo has made a choice already that he didn't even know he was going to make, and he has to spend the movie finding out what that choice is. And it's not about him as an interesting individual and why. Like, it feels like every single person would have done exactly what he did, and it's just not interesting. It's like, is the point supposed to be like we all make choices like well before? Because I don't
Which
even
I also
buy
don't
into
like
this
or
idea.
don't agree.
Exactly, I don't agree with that.
It's very predetermined.
This idea that and the thing is, once you say that, isn't it supposed to be a question of predestination versus free will? But once you say that, you're basically saying predestination always wins out. Even though you're also saying
that's the Merovingian.
The Merovingian, yeah. We all have a choice, except if we made it already, do we have a choice? If you're basically saying choice is all subconscious. If choice is all subconscious, did you actually really get to make it? Maybe that's an interesting conversation.
But it's
but it's not interestingly presented.
But it's also not what they're saying it is. Choice being subconscious, like, when you get down to, like, the random synapses firing in your brain that control what you are, is a very different thing than you have literally already made a choice about a question or an offer you did not know you were going to be asked. That's a different thing, and that's where it goes too far to me, where it's like, well, you weren't ready to do this yet. And I'm like, well, but
no, because
you can't know what you don't know.
Yeah, and then it just ends up being, okay, God already decided what you were going to do. That's all it is. Because he's the one, he's already made the choice. And it seems like what it's really saying is, you have to, for Neo specifically, you have to understand the choice that you made. You've already made the choice. It's like, well, it's because it was made for you. You're the one. You had to do that.
Yeah. This is the bad version of the scene with the elder guy, where we are just talking about the themes, and it doesn't feel natural, it doesn't feel human, and it's just there for the audience.
But I still love her performance.
Oh no, she's great.
And
it's amazing she can deliver this dialogue as natural as she does.
No, and I do love because she's just an exposition head, and she wasn't in the first movie. That wasn't the point. It was she in the first movie. And we still say this here, but it's not true anymore. She just tells you what you need to hear, and in this movie, she gives you the video game mission, so you can go off and do the mission. So has it ever occurred to you that she tries to hand him a red pill? In the scene, she's eating the candy, and it looks just like the red pill.
No, I never thought of that.
I don't know if that's intentional, but
so he can see the future.
I mean,
again,
it's not. It doesn't really mean anything because he's already taken the red pill. You know what I mean? But or maybe the idea is like there's another layer, sort of, to the Matrix. Like he's discovering in this scene that she is a program. Or I guess he suspected it walking in. That's the one thing I do like about this scene is just the revelation that she and all these other programs are actually programs, because it gives her this other kind of layer of mystery, at least for a minute.
But I don't understand how a program can know the future. Well, okay.
I don't either.
So there was an interesting idea that I feel like,
because it's not just the future of the Matrix, it's also the future of the real world. So there's suddenly this mystical component. Now, that's always been there. Because you have the Oracle in the first movie, and she can read the future.
Yes.
But you don't know the nature of her. And once you just make her a program, it gets sticky.
Well, it's also introducing the single magical component into the universe, which I guess is easier in the foundational film than it is in the follow-up.
Yes.
Where there's nothing else mystical.
Yes.
But it should be dealing with the idea of fate and predetermination. Prophecy makes sense, and I like the idea that we never go anywhere, or we don't actually use. But what it should be is they're computer programs, and it is all predetermined.
Predict stuff because of math.
Yeah, and I like the idea that even human beings are predictable through math and statistics and things like that.
Yeah.
And on a micro scale, you might make a decision, but on a macro scale, I know everything you're going to do. But we don't do that.
No, not
What
really.
is the point of all of this if we're not actually going to deal with that?
No, it feels like it ends up being too literally celestial.
Yeah.
Now, I also sort of like the idea that we invented... That the machines we invented get almost to a magical place where they're almost celestial, where they're almost actually gods. But I don't think it comes together right.
And that makes sense in their world.
So she knew that Smith was going to come, so she makes sure and times that conversation perfectly, so that she can walk away as soon as he walks up.
Now, she's going to say that's mystical, but I think she just saw him off in the distance and was like, I better wrap this conversation up.
I think I agree with you. That's exactly what happens.
So,
Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, well, first of all, this speech is nonsense.
But it's fun.
As we've already discussed. No, his performance is fun.
I know.
It's not the speech.
Yep. The execution of this nonsensical script is great in a lot of places.
There is a thank you that he gives that I try to imitate all the time. I don't think I've ever succeeded, but I often say thank you trying to do his inflection.
Yeah, it's awesome.
That is burned into my brain. But no, this entire speech is nonsense. Like we already discussed, you can't just go, something happened.
Maybe it was... you know what? Let's not even talk about it.
But we're about to go into aesthetically probably the worst scene in the entire trilogy.
Yep.
Maybe the machine shooting, but because it's more boring.
It's just too ambitious.
It is.
They just couldn't... And it's like visually pretentious, right? Because there are some tricks they could have used, some corners they could have cut to make some of it look more realistic than it does. But they're going, look at us, wow, can you believe we were able to do this? And so
digital.
They keep in broad daylight.
Yep.
So they go real up close on faces that don't look real. And
do you think they learned that lesson? That's why the third movie takes place in the rain?
Yeah. Well, no, I don't think they learned that lesson. I think maybe that's initially why, but then some of the rain becomes a problem because you have that really dumb shot where Neo punches him in slow motion through the rain, and it's one of the worst looking things in that movie. It's so silly. They're just patting themselves on the back too much. And I cannot watch the beginning of this scene without thinking of the end of the music video for Amish Paradise.
Does it do this?
Where it's Weird Al superimposed like 30 times.
Oh.
And they're in a choir. and they all put their heads down with big hats at different times, and it looks really good.
I don't remember that. I've seen that music video. I don't remember that.
Yeah. We'll go back and look at it again.
I will.
It's great.
Okay, so nothing important.
It's not the only thing that does
here.
that, but always.
I want to talk about what I think they're trying to do versus what they actually did, specifically
you
with
mean,
Smith and Neo.
Just story-wise?
Yes.
Okay, I actually could talk about the scene the entire time. But go ahead.
If you want to talk about the scene, I was like, this is a great place to talk about nothing.
I just like watching this and reacting to it because it's bonkers. I am of two completely different minds on this. At the one hand, I agree with everybody that it turns into too much PS2 graphics. Part of the problem with it is that it starts off great.
Yeah.
All of this looks great. Because it's not too ambitious yet.
There are some really funny reaction shots from Smith, though.
But the biggest issue with it is I don't know why any Smith would ever stay down.
Do any of them stay down?
Well, too long, though. I mean, like, yeah, okay. A lot of them end up getting up, but, like, he's going to be, like, more and just have so many come out. And I don't see how Neo can hold his own against 20 or 30 of them, much less, like, a bazillion. Just because, like, why do they fight him a few at a time? Like, they just keep fighting him a few at a time. There's no reason for that.
Well, that's a problem with any crowd scene where it's like a bunch of people versus one.
But it's even worse when it's like computer programs that can't really be hurt. And you don't want to go immediately to this when your first movie says no one has fought an agent and lived.
This scene is funny with this music.
Oh, yeah, it's great. And then you have the problem of, Neo is like underpowered in order to give the agents any chance against him compared to where he is at the end of the movie. But then the idea is supposed to be he can fight a whole bunch of them because he is the one. But I mean, I get the sense that Morpheus could also probably fight this many of this Agent Smith. Like, there's nothing Neo is doing that's that much more impressive than what any other Matrix fighter can do.
It's just that there's a bunch of them.
Yeah. That's the problem. He's not doing anything Neo-y, you know what I mean? Like, if Neo, from the end of that last movie, was fighting this many agents, we wouldn't be able to watch the scene. Yeah. You wouldn't be able to see what was happening. He'd be moving so fast, and he'd be digitizing himself. And like you suggested earlier, he would be killing every one of them the way he did at the end of the last movie. Why does he never do that again?
Why isn't he just exploding them left and right?
Yeah.
Well, I guess now he knows that created this Smith. But why wouldn't he be taking out agents at every opportunity he gets?
Clearly wasn't doing that before. And I just feel like he could be more creative with his powers. Why does he need to rip them all apart? With his bare hands.
The first movie, we talked about when we talked about the first movie, how that was, like, parodied to death.
Yes.
Why wasn't this scene parodied more?
Because it would be expensive to parody it, probably.
I guess so, but I feel like
that was a bad cut.
Really funny things.
Did you see that cut? Where it's a CG Neo, and then we cut to real Neo, like just like in slight side profile. Oh God, that's rough.
I don't like his hair as much in this movie.
Oh, I don't have the aesthetics issues with Neo that you do.
It's too short. I liked it a little bit better in the first one.
So yeah, he's just gonna hit a whole bunch of them with a stick.
Yeah, which again, Morpheus could do.
Yeah. No, exactly. Morpheus could do everything he's doing right now.
This should be like running alongside.
Okay, maybe
walls.
Morpheus can't do that.
Yeah, but it looks terrible.
Yeah, no, it does. And again, in the theater, I remember thinking, because I think I was bringing imagination to it, where I'm just like, that's a cool idea for a shot, and yeah, no, it does.
I feel like old special effects, when they were happening, a lot of them was like part interactive, where like you were adding details that weren't there.
That's it.
Because you were used to it. You didn't have anything else.
Yeah, but you know what you didn't have to do with the Matrix?
Do that?
Add any of those details. Yeah.
Well, except for some of the things that I remembered looking a lot better, like the sunglasses. Because I didn't remember those looking as bad as they did.
There was a comedic component to this whole thing.
That pull bent, did you see that?
Yes, it did. There's a comedic component to this that I do kind of love. Oh, he just goes more. He just keeps throwing away. Like, that's what I mean when I say I love the cartooniness of this, even though this isn't what I want from the Matrix.
I also think it's weird that there's so many of them, and that agent seemed to be shocked that Smith was alive. Like, he's been doing it this long, and the agents of the Matrix don't know?
Or has he? Because it's like, maybe he just assimilated... Did he assimilate all these guys this morning? Like, did he go downtown and just, and just assimilate everybody down there, and then... How did they all get here this
We
fast?
give Keanu Reeves a lot of credit for like all of the martial arts training that he
That
did.
drives me insane.
It's really bad.
They
It's the Looney Tunes.
They put in a bowling sound effect.
Hugo Weaving didn't do nothing, right? Like he learned to fight for this movie.
Oh, yeah.
And the first one too, to some degree, but
No, I agree with that. That's a good point.
we never give him credit for that.
I mean, about half of what he's doing in this, he's not doing, but that's
It's a lot
true of
yeah.
because a lot of it's in a computer. And see, part of the problem is how much of this looks like in slow motion. And I don't know if you agree with this, but just because it's sort of realistic,
And that's second time.
you're right. It's the same sound effect. I don't think you should ever. Oh no, I'm sorry. This is the shot that's like the end of that music video. It's this shot because they're all like looking around and yeah. And he does the neck pop, which is great. But I was just gonna say I don't like slow motion yelling because it's always intentionally unfunny or intentionally funny, and then when you do it on purpose, it's not funny at all. You know what I mean? Where whenever he's like,
You're like, that's not funny. But then when people try to play it for dramatic effect, it never plays.
No, I hate it.
I was just watching something the other day that had that really bad, and I can't remember what it is.
I didn't mean to step on your thematic talk.
It's fine.
I had things about that scene I really wanted to talk about.
I also think that scene, for as big and wacky as it goes, it's not big and wacky enough. Like, they should be, like, running alongside buildings. They should be, like, using that. It's all on the ground.
That's a good point. I mean, if it's going to look so CG anyway, you might as well do all that stuff.
Well, yeah, especially just, like, show off, like, what Neo can do. Like, have him running up a building, flipping down for, like, a super punch and, like, stuff like that. Like, use your space more.
So this is the council scene where we'll see if we agree with what you were saying earlier that most everybody is actually against Morpheus and his beliefs. I think the council more or less are believers. She definitely is.
Okay.
And then there's like an old guy sitting next to her that also has that. Oh, that was another line from the conversation with the older guy where Neo says, "Why are there no young men on the council?" And he says, "Good point." I love that whole part of that exchange. It's great.
Well, one of the things that's weird about age here, well, I guess it's not, because we know the cutoff date for letting people go free, don't we? It's like 20. Because I was going to ask how many of these people are actually old outside of the Matrix, but Neo was an exception. Well, Neo was old.
It's not 20 because Neo would have been not much older than 20.
It has to be younger than that?
To be, well, yeah, because remember all the potentials are kids.
Yeah.
I think you're supposed to be like 10 or 11, like or more. Yeah. No, you're supposed to be a kid. Okay, so the council is calling for volunteers.
Okay. I just get the I don't know. I feel like I got the impression that like more people agree with Locke than they agree with Morpheus, but maybe I'm wrong.
I think maybe part of the reason that you had that was because Morpheus in his speech says something, I believe something that you do not, and you would think that he thinks he's talking to the majority if he says that. I know, yeah. I've never understood that line.
I don't know if she's in the Ron Howard Grinch movie, but boy, she looks like she could very easily be a Who.
Did
like
Ron
that
Howard
nose
direct
is
that?
Yes.
I didn't know that. Or if I did, I'd forgotten. Well, you can't win them all.
But like, she looks like she needs a Who nose. Like,
that's hilarious.
If she's not in that movie, she should have been.
Because I want to say a thing that we set up earlier, so that all I have is this one line that I repeat over and over again throughout both movies. Because some things change, Jason, and some things never change and some things do. Oh, also, that drives me insane. The Jason thing? Don't understand that. You have got to explain that. Why is he the only person that anybody refers to by a normal name? His name is Locke. She calls him Jason because they were together, and I guess for some reason that has her calling him by his human name from when he was in the Matrix. I guess. But why does he have a regular person name? Like, they never talk about it.
Yeah, no one calls Neo Tom. even disparagingly.
Yeah, and also they treat it like that was your slave name.
Yeah.
So she calls Locke by his slave name. His name is not Jason Locke. His name, I mean, I'm making this assumption based on what we were given in the first movie.
His name is Jason something.
His name was Jason something in the Matrix, and now he's Locke.
Yep.
I also kind of love retroactively that in this there's a character named Locke who is the consummate unbeliever, and then in The Lost you have Locke who's the believer.
Well, and there's a whole thing with that because there's a famous philosopher named Locke.
Yes.
And apparently here it's just a random like choice of like it's a philosopher name.
No, John Locke's philosophy in Lost is supposed to
be much more accurate,
line up a little bit with John Locke, yeah. More at the beginning than later, I think. But
this is the movie that introduced me to Monica Bellucci. Okay. And it's the only good thing that came out of this movie. Who is also in, like, after I saw this movie, is in, like, everything.
Oh, really?
She's not, like, in everything, but, like, she pops, she was supposed to be a Bond, well, she is finally a Bond girl in Spectre, and she looks the same as she looks here. She hasn't aged a day.
Wow.
But she was supposed to be Terry Hatcher's part in Tomorrow Never Dies.
Oh.
And then she was supposed to be...
She looks like a Bond girl.
Yeah. And then she was supposed to be, like, every Bond... Or not supposed to be. She was up for, like, every Bond girl role after that. But she goes as far back as Bram Stoker's Dracula. She's in Sorcerer's Apprentice. She's in a bunch of stuff.
I don't even remember seeing her in that when I watched it.
She is one of the three brides.
Oh. We probably pointed that out when we watched it.
She's a French actress, and she does a bunch of French stuff.
Because I was going to say, if she fakes that accent, she's really good at it.
No,
and
she is
I
French.
think he is faking that accent, although I don't know that for sure. Because when he's in Catwoman, he's not doing this accent.
Is he the bad guy in Catwoman?
Yeah, he's the bad guy in Catwoman. Well, he's the...
Because it's a bad woman in Catwoman.
It's a bad... Yeah, played by Sharon Stone. But he's the guy who runs the company that Sharon Stone co-runs or whatever. It's been a while, I forget. But I think he's just doing... Is it doing an English accent in that, or is it just American? I can't remember.
I have never rewatched that movie.
I mean, because of what I do, I've had to watch it more times than I'd like to, but it still has been a long time. I did a commentary maybe 5 years ago.
I think he's captivating.
Yes.
I think he's so good.
Yes. He's awesome.
We will bring the two of them back in the third movie for no reason.
Kind of no reason.
I feel like that scene's on this. I also haven't seen that movie since theaters.
Yeah.
But
I thought the same thing, and then I just watched it again, and it seemed more necessary than I remember it. But I mean, it's still just there's a MacGuffin, and he knows about it and where it is, and has to send them somewhere.
And I think Persephone's outfit in this is jaw dropping, but the third movie is even more crazy. That like red ensemble.
Thing? Yeah.
Oh my god. I hate this as an example of causality. Because it's not causality, but it's also not like a fair example of it. Does that make sense?
What about it's not fair?
Okay, so...
And what example are we talking about?
The he's going to give her the orgasm cake.
Yes.
Which, by the way, I did not understand as a kid.
I didn't
Not that, like, I didn't know what it was. I don't think it's made clear in the scene.
Even seeing this
I thought she had to go. I thought she had to pee.
No, it took me a couple of views before I got it. But then, like, if you really pay attention, so we shoot between her legs, and we're seeing Matrix code, which is how they get away with it. And then you see an explosion between her legs in Matrix, and then she has this look like she just had a sexual experience.
But when I was younger, I thought, like, she just had to go to the bathroom. Like, it feels good, but there's negative consequences. Obviously, that's not what it is. That is how I took it when I was younger.
You also probably thought that because 2 minutes after that, he says, I drank too much wine, I must take a piss.
That's probably true.
So he does have that, and he does use that as exactly what you're saying, as another example of causality.
But what's unfair about this as an example of causality is it's essentially a... Yeah, I don't know how I misread that as a kid.
I'm saying it's pretty explicit.
It is really explicit.
In both meanings of that word.
Yeah.
But it took me more than one viewing, and I was more or less an adult at that point. I mean, you saw it as a kid.
Well, teenager, but yeah.
But I wasn't older. I mean,
what is this, 04?
03.
03. Okay, so I'm 12.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But that's
I'm
what
a
I'm
kid.
saying. I was
Yeah.
18.
Yeah.
19.
I also cannot understand cheating on this woman. I don't care how long you've been together, but whatever. No, it's not.
She must be more your type than mine.
It's not fair because.
Look, if Eric's gonna go that superficial, then I'll just say that. Like, yeah, she's attractive, but I'm not like, wow.
Oh no, I think no, she's
you and I have a different type.
We do.
We absolutely do.
But no, it's not fair because it's essentially a drugged cake, which is not the. Like, a more logical causality would be you eat cake and it has and it tastes good, but it has a weird effect inside of you and you have to go to the bathroom. Like, that's causality. That's making a choice that is affected. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, but I think
it's completely unforeseen circumstances.
But I think it's a more extreme example of it where he's saying that, like, no matter how, you know, like in control and rational you think you are still a slave to chemical processes, and chemical processes are like programming.
Yeah. I also think it's weird. That entire scene, Persephone and the Merovingian with the other chick, I don't view the Matrix films as sexy. Like, I almost view them as, like, sexless. Like, I know there is sex, but, like, they feel very chaste to me.
Yeah.
And that scene is so sexually explicit.
Yeah.
It feels tonally incongruent with the rest of the movie.
It doesn't fit with this, yeah. And there's not anything else like that, really.
No.
In these. And it's weird because I think people talk about The Matrix like it's a sexy film, but I've always had the same thing. And I think part of that, again, is you and I don't find Trinity attractive.
But Trinity's not sexualized. No. This is her. She is the only woman that's sexualized.
And intentionally not. Like, there's a reason they cast that way. Yes. There's a reason she has short hair. Like, all that is intentional. Which is why it's so jarring when you get into this movie and Neo is acting like she's like almost a sex bot or something. It's weird.
It's also weird because at this point,
I mean, yeah, he should be attracted to her if they're supposed to be, you know, together. But as we said earlier, they don't have any chemistry, and I can't relate to it, so it's weird.
It's also why I've always found this scene unbelievable. I'm like, yeah, no, it should be super easy to kiss this woman and act like you're super into it. But the way she talks about the Merovingian, if I'm Neo or anyone here, I'm having questions of, like, genuine sentience. Like, she's talking about, like, a relationship that's gone sour and how it used to be, and...
Well, what I love about that, though,
But I guess the machines are alive. I guess that's not really a question, but it's much more human depiction.
I love the relative sense of reality in the Matrix with the machines. If they live there as human beings long enough, they become human. Or like human. Because the Matrix is so much of a recreation of our reality that it's all relative. There's not really that much of a difference between being a human being in the Matrix and in the real world. That's why everybody buys into it. Until you start to see the seams.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I mean is, like, they appear as human in the Matrix, but they're not just wearing guises. Like, they are essentially human beings there.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea is supposed to be that we created, and we deal with this a lot more in the Animatrix, in the origin stuff. The idea that the machines, kind of became us, and that was the problem.
Yeah, I guess this is just like the sexy building, right? Like, outside of this building, we aren't going to have, like, sexy things, but
that's
this
really funny.
Building is... Well, it's French, right? That makes sense.
Yeah, sure. That's kind of stereotypical, then.
I know that in the script, she is described as sex in a latex dress. That is how her character is described.
Interesting.
Which is weird, because she's not, like, a femme fatale. Like, I don't know why this character needs to be sexualized. Nothing about her thematically or character-wise makes sense necessarily. Other than that, like, she's supposed to be hot because she's the Merovingian's, like, wife or whatever. Like, that's all. That's
I think
very
that's
James
the
Bondian.
main reason is just because his weakness is attractive women.
Yeah.
And at one time he was more like Neo, and now it's kind of all about that for him. And he's also pompous and, has delusions of grandeur.
it just seems... I don't know. Maybe it's just because I know that the script said sex in a latex dress, where I'm like,
yeah,
hot chick wouldn't have sufficed? Like, why does it... It feels intentional in a way that's never paid off exactly.
I'm going to have to slightly swear to say the line, but I've also always loved wiping your ass with silk.
Okay.
I also like the idea of older versions of programs in the Matrix, and that these earlier ones, so they're basically like Mario Goombas.
Yeah. I hate everything we do with these characters and the setup that we're given to them, which is they are the anomalies in the universe. Werewolves, vampires, aliens, everything weird you've ever heard is these guys. And we drive that even more home with them watching the Hammer film.
It's not them, it's the twins and stuff. Like,
I think they are too.
Really?
I think so.
Oh, is that why it's a silver bull? And that whole thing is so weird.
Yes,
like,
and they're watching a Hammer movie.
Right.
I think it's Brides of Dracula, but I could be wrong.
But why does a silver bullet kill one of those guys? I've never understood that.
I don't know.
Or is it supposed to be a werewolf? Like, I've never understood that.
Yes. They are.
Is it supposed to be literally a werewolf? Because I get that they're anomalies, and I get the whole speech that the Oracle had earlier, where like everything supernatural you've ever heard of is like these anomalies, glitches in the Matrix. But they're just like dumb guys that are acting as henchmen.
Well,
you don't see anything.
That's my problem. We get a huge fight scene with all of the characters that are supposed to be like the origins of aliens and vampires and werewolves and everything you've ever heard of that's weird in the world, right?
Yeah.
And they're just dudes. They're just dudes in suits that fight like every other dude. Like, nothing special about them.
Yeah.
They don't turn into werewolves. They don't use special powers. There's nothing except for the Ghost Twins.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Who, when I saw the trailer, and I think I haven't seen the trailer since theaters, but I am pretty sure that they cut the trailer so that you think the twins are the new agents.
Yes.
You see them and he says, upgrade.
No, you're absolutely right.
It is such wasted potential that they are not the new agents.
Yeah, because that would have made some kind of sense. We're not using anything like the agents from before because
you've upped the stakes.
We need superpowers to match with Neo's, and also if we're going to make and I don't love making such a big deal out of the flying thing because then it feels like that's the upper echelon of what he can do. But at the end of the Matrix, it felt like that should have just been like the start of it. Mm-hmm. And I mean, we've seen him right before that do a thing that's way more impressive even. But at the very least, if we're going to treat Neo like Superman, let's have some fights in the sky.
Yeah.
Let's have these guys can fly. Let's do that. Let's do that kind of thing.
I also don't think they're particularly impressive when it comes down to it. Like, they kind of just have the phasing thing.
They can go through walls.
Yeah.
And they're kind of creepy looking.
Yeah.
So I hate that. It's like the worst moment in the movie for me almost. No, maybe it is. Where he goes, your predecessors have more respect, and then he snaps his fingers, and then now we're like that was a cutscene. Maybe no, we're still in the cutscene because he's gonna go, I have some skill, and then he does that,
you can play the
kill him, and then now we're playing a video game. I hate it. It's so irritating.
That is the scene that got parodied from this movie. It's
yes.
The bullets. That's the one that we did a bunch.
Yes.
But yeah, all of these people are supposed to be like vampires and werewolves and aliens and the Loch Ness Monster and Bigfoot. Like, that's what these are. But they're just dudes. It's so disappointing.
And the biggest
Why include that idea at all if you're not going to do anything with it?
The biggest place where it's really hard to suspend your disbelief and you just have to unfortunately have a gimme with this movie to even enjoy it is if you can do the stuff Neo can do. And again, he, like we said earlier, is he underpowered, or do we like to just conveniently pretend like he doesn't have powers he has? It's sort of
Peter
like
Petrelli.
It's exactly. That's exactly what I was about to say. It's like telekinetics, right? If you ever want a telekinetic to have hand-to-hand combat, you have to pretend like they're not telekinetic whenever you don't want them to be, so that it feels like there's any stakes, and so that you can have choreography. So if he can put his hand up and stop all those bullets, why does that guy need to have any hand-to-hand combat?
Yeah.
Why doesn't he just shoot all the bullets back at them? Why does he drop them on the floor? I don't know. Look at that. If he can do that, I don't understand. Why should he have to have any hand-to-hand combat whatsoever?
I mean, that's also a problem we have with, like, anything with, like, big monsters or something. Like, how often have you seen, like, bullets bounce off it, but I can drive a sword into its
That's
into its
true.
head?
Sure. But this is so much more egregious to me. than a lot of those things.
Yes, no,
because we
I
have to
agree.
do it constantly, and there's no sense of consistency.
And making them like the supernatural things would have given something that Neo has to up his game for.
Yeah.
They're not just dudes with
Instead,
guns.
they're just agents with other weapons
Yeah.
that don't look like agents. That's it.
And why are they using all these kung fu? Like, why is this a room of kung fu weapons? None of these people look like they trained to like in ancient China to like fight with all of these.
No, it's just gratuitous homage.
Yeah.
You know what these guys look like to me? They look like Joker henchmen from '89.
Yeah, sure. And so many of these fight scenes, unlike the first film, don't feel particularly necessary. It's just, it feels like there's like an algorithm. It's like, we need a fight scene now.
Yeah.
And they're all very static and still. This fight scene should be them trying to get out of the building. This should be a running fight scene. Right? Like, we got the information we need to get. It is just standing
just make it
in
a set
room.
piece.
Yeah. But they're just standing in a room fighting.
There's just nothing compelling about this.
You know what else makes it feel like a video game?
This scene, real quick, this scene feels like the start of Jupiter Ascending.
Which I've never seen. Is this what it feels like?
Yeah. Because it's just a whole bunch of fighting with characters I have no investment in whatsoever, and it takes forever, and there's like no reason for... There's no reason for this scene to still be going, or maybe even exist at all. Anyway, I'm sorry, what were you saying? I hate the scene.
The other thing that makes this feel like a video game that starts with a cutscene, the other characters that are with you dissipate.
Yes!
And it's just you now.
That's exactly right. I love that cut when he says that, because he's like, you know what he is? He's a Batman 66 villain. Because he just stands to the side and he says one-liners and he gets upset when his bad guys lose and when his henchmen lose, and then he doesn't actually fight him, and then he just runs off at the end. That was a 60s Batman fight.
You know, I just had a thought.
And that doesn't make it better. I wish it did. It doesn't.
You know what I think was a huge detriment to this movie?
I think Bams and Pals might, though.
You know what I think was a huge detriment to this movie and all the action scenes and why they're going so hard on the kung fu stuff? You know what happens between The Matrix and The Matrix Reloaded? Kill Bill.
That's a really good point.
I've never thought of that
And I've never
before.
actually watched that.
It's good.
But what little I know about that... Oh, Vince hates that movie with a passion. What little I know about that...
With it.
There are definitely things that remind me of, the trailers and things. Just what little I know about it. Yeah.
Well, and... I mean,
the style of action.
A lot of people's biggest complaint with that movie, specifically cinephiles, is that it's almost not its own movie. Like, almost everything in that movie is a reference to an old kung fu movie or something.
And this movie has that identity problem.
But I feel like it's more amped up in this movie than the first one, maybe because of Kill Bill.
Yeah.
We have to top that.
Yeah.
We're the guys that like the old kung fu movies.
Boy, that's a really good point.
I'd never thought of that before. Watching that scene with all of the old weapons.
Okay, so what's weird about what's about to happen is we're about to get into the freeway scene, which is going to take forever.
Yeah.
And you're gonna, because of how huge it is, you'd think it would be like maybe the climax or I mean, we're not far enough into the movie yet that you would expect like the big end climax, but it goes on for so long you kind of forget where you are in the movie, and then right after that we're gonna go, and now we're in the third act, and you're gonna be like, oh, that scene was really long. Like, how are we already in the third act? And then you look at your watch and you go, oh, I've been watching this movie forever.
It feels like
the pacing is so off.
It feels like they were intentionally trying to do the thing that a lot of movies do, specifically Iron Man 2, where they put the best action scene in the middle. It feels like they were intentionally trying to put the best action scene in the middle of their movie.
Yes.
But it's so long, and it's so bloated, and it's so boring.
And it's also weird because it's not actually the middle.
Is this not the end of the second act? Or is it supposed to be the end of the second act?
Well,
again, I don't know what kind of structure this movie is using.
I mean, yeah, it ultimately
in a traditional
is,
structure,
but it's because it's so long. Yeah.
Because this feels like the first act plot point where we now know what we have to go do.
Oh, yeah. Now, just because I didn't mention it earlier, and we have some time now, like you were saying earlier, you may want to get into your thematic stuff pretty soon if you didn't get to talk about it. Because I think we've got some time. But I was just going to say,
so this is the scene we can talk.
We didn't get to. I'm sorry, I just really want to talk about that scene.
Look how much cooler the cell phones are now. They don't click out just to top it, which seems less cool to me. Am I wrong?
No, I'm with you.
It seems more like a children's toy.
A couple of random things real quick. First of all, I've always felt like, maybe I'm a crazy person, some of the cinematography in this scene feels too much like a car commercial.
You're not wrong.
I've always felt
like that. Is that
because
car commercials emulated this?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
It's possible. It's entirely possible. Anyway, something about the Merovingian that I wanted to mention is I think one of the reasons he's fun and that I kind of respect that guy as a character, even though he's revealed to be kind of a walking contradiction, is. Because he's saying, like, cause and effect, and then his wife gets the one up on him at the end, where it's like, well, he was underestimating people or her, and he wasn't thinking about the cause and effect that he was going to create by cheating on her. So there's that. But I like the whole idea of, I'm not going to give you what you want because you're just lemmings. You're just doing what somebody told you to go and do.
He should be criticizing the video game plot.
Yeah. Exactly, and I think that's part of why
I'm not going to be a step in your fetch quest.
Yes, exactly. But also, you guys are supposed. Here's the way I've always looked at it. You guys are supposed to be the rebellion, and you're working within the system, and you don't even know it. Yeah, because the Oracle is part of a system. No, and this is all stuff we'll find out later, but he knows all that. And he's like, you just went to go get the keymaker, and you're asking me for him, and you don't even know why you need him, because she told you to. And she's part of the system. And we'll find out later that she's not just part of the system, she's the mother of the Matrix.
So, that actually ties into the thematic stuff I want to talk about.
All right, we'll go right in.
And Smith.
Absolutely.
So, this film, I think, because everything's muddled, It's about systemic issues, right? Like it is literally about systems and control and power and how no one has it.
Yeah.
And I think that Neo and Smith.
Yeah, because when you get to the very top, it's just another part of a system.
Yeah. And this is obviously
it's not like the architect is like pulling all the strings in the background, and he's like, you don't have an emperor in this.
Yes. No, it's just systems.
Yeah.
It's just things running the way that things run, and that controls people's lives. And everyone's a working cog in this.
Arbitrary.
Yeah. And you could say really interesting things about society with that. We don't.
Everybody's doing things just because they're expected to, and because it's how they live and how they put food on their table.
It's been done.
Yes.
And it's too complicated. You can't fix a system.
How do you start over?
Yeah.
It's too hard, so we don't fix the problems.
Yeah.
Great point. Absolutely.
And we just live in it.
It's not enough to the forefront that I've ever completely put that together. But you're absolutely right. Yeah, it's a criticism of a failed system that we keep in place because we don't know what to replace it with. Because it's too hard.
Very relevant. More and more.
More and more.
Well, I don't even know if it's any more relevant. It's just more in the focus of the mainstream life.
We're talking about it more than we did in 03.
Yes. So they're very ahead of the curve.
But interesting how, and I didn't even think of this, The Matrix is 1999. Mm-hmm. This is certainly a post 9/11 movie.
Yes, it is. Well, and you're going to be thinking about that stuff, right? You're going to be thinking about the system that caused 9/11 and all of the things that looks not great.
No, but I remember loving it in the theater.
And all of the, I'm not getting political or conspiratorial, but there's so much stuff that led to 9/11 that was almost predictable through statistics and, because of things that happened in the 90s and the 80s and, but that's all systematic. That's all things that affected other things that all, it's all
if
part
that
of
happened in the Matrix, the Oracle didn't need to be supernatural to tell you that was going to happen.
Yeah.
Boy, that's a great point.
So I think that Neo and Smith, and this is the reason because Smith is a problem with a lot of stuff. He seems like an unnecessary third force. And I think that Neo is supposed to represent, to some degree, individualism and being an individual person. And and Smith is collectivism.
But like he's an individual by stepping on everybody else's individuality.
Yes. And that's the only way to be free.
He's trying to be
for
the
everyone to be the same.
Like I said, there's no emperor. He wants to be the emperor.
Yes. Well, he doesn't want to be the emperor. He wants to be everyone. He wants to be the entire
arguably,
society.
by the prequels, the emperor wants to. Because if you believe the idea or the theory or whatever that everybody does everything they do in those movies because he's moving all the pieces around, he's exactly Agent Smith.
But he's not literally every person in that society.
No, but that's
Smith
just because that society isn't set up in such a way where it would be.
Yes.
But he's basically pretending like people are individuals, but he's putting thoughts in their heads, which makes them him.
But
is what I'm suggesting.
Yes. But I think the idea with Neo and Smith is supposed to be the two outs for systematic systems.
Yeah.
That's not a great sentence. But like Neo is individualism and Smith is collectivism.
Yeah, great point.
I don't think we say anything with any of that. Like when I get to the end of the third film,
these are all great ideas that are set up and are not explored.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like we're trying to do something with because I don't want to immediately equate completely collectivism with communism, but like it's that kind of idea of like if everyone thinks the same thing and is the same person, we won't have systematic issues because everyone is completely equal and completely the same.
Well, and that's the Borg, and they call it perfection. I mean, what you basically have here is like Luke Skywalker versus the Borg.
Yes, that's exactly it. But I also don't think Neo presents a particularly good alternative or good case for individualism. But
no, because how much of an individual is he at the end of the day? I mean, part of the problem is that, again, he's just a straight up archetype, and what we're basically saying is he's Jesus.
But he's also like,
and he's kind of just following a plan set out by a god, which is different than being an individual.
Well, and I like the idea
he was an individual in the first movie.
I like the idea of addressing how difficult it is to be an individual within a system.
Yes,
and Neo believes he's doing things and making his own choices, but they're predetermined. But when we get to the big moment where he's supposed to make the choice that defines him as an individual, which is saving Trinity, there are no consequences and there is no fallout.
Yeah.
We don't do anything with it. I feel like they had...
And all it feels like is just a reverse of the end of the first movie.
Yeah.
Well, we did it with Neo the first time, now we're going to do it with Trinity, and in the third movie, we're going to kind of do it with Neo again.
But I might be mistaken, but I remember the architect saying, like, complete system shutdown. If you save her, everyone in the Matrix dies. And nothing happens with that. We never revisit that point or that threat. Neo just does it.
We'll have to talk about that when we get there, because I don't remember that.
Okay.
He says she is going to die and there's nothing you can do about it.
But it's the choice. If he goes and tries to save her, this is what happens. I thought it was complete system shut. We'll see when we get... This scene is so boring and so long.
No, there's really nothing to say right now. Like, it's just a big giant car chase. And it's so bloated. I mean, you used that word earlier. And it's excessive. I mean, that's the best word I can use. It's so excessive.
But no,
in the theater, I was enjoying this because I was, the first time around, because I was, just wrapped up in getting to see Matrix again. I mean, like, and that sounds like, no matter what they put on screen, they could have, like, Mr. Potato Head and sunglasses, and I would have been all into it. It's not that. There's fun to be had here, but it's so excessive. It's so long. We're not pushing story forward really any more than we were with the sex scene. It's just, you could take a nap and then get to the end, and okay, we got the keymaker to this place. Let's move on. Like,
it's action porn.
But we got to see... Precisely.
But it's not good action porn.
But we got to see Morpheus play with a samurai sword.
So
when I showed this to my son, Jason just goes, "Why does he have a sword?"
He picked it up from the samurai.
No. I'm sorry. Before the movie started, I meant to set this up. So you got the menus in the DVD.
Oh.
And out of context, you see him with a big samurai sword. He's like, "Why the heck does Morpheus have a samurai sword?"
So the problem with with Smith and the agents and the system, all of that systematic stuff, is I think the Matrix needs to fall in this movie and the next movie, and the third movie needs to be the two ideologies without the system. Because Smith feels intrusive. Smith feels like this outside force that just keeps building. And at the end, we make a compromise with the system.
Yeah.
We make a truce.
Yeah. It doesn't feel like two opposing forces.
No, and it doesn't feel like three opposing forces
Right.
either. It doesn't feel like it becomes a three-pronged war. It's just,
You're
it's
right.
very
You
weird
have
for
the
the
system-
ideas we're exploring.
You have the system, and then you have two possible solutions,
Yeah.
is what you're suggesting it ought to be.
Yeah.
And you're right. You can see the possible framework just in that idea. It kind of ought to write itself.
Yeah.
Now that you lay it out, pretty brilliantly, may I add. I mean, that's excellent.
Thank you.
Analysis on your part.
Thank you. But, like, I just...
This is so green.
It just doesn't...
It's just too green.
It is. And these cars look really fake. I feel like it's a mess. Like, I think everything I said is probably true, but I also think that there's like 15 other ideas they're trying to juggle in these movies, and none of them are dealt with effectively or well. Part of what works so much about the first Matrix is it's so focused.
Yeah.
And it's lean. And part of that is that traditional story structure, and them not doing that here.
I sense a great deal of fear in this movie.
Yeah.
It is so all over the place because it's trying to be everything to everybody, and that first movie didn't know if anybody was going to watch it. And it's very difficult to make a sequel to that, and when your reason for making it is you know it will sell. Mm-hmm. When you make something so commercial. And I mean, The Matrix is commercial in all the right ways.
Yes. Well, and you want to appease both of your bases, right?
Yeah.
You want to be the intellectual movie for the people that enjoyed your first film for the intellectual things. So you load it with 75 intellectual ideas that are all competing with each other to say something interesting. And for the people that enjoyed it for the action movie,
you got to ramp that up.
Yeah. You make all of the scenes bigger, and you have more action scenes. And I think the problem is, for the people that were interested in the intellectual stuff, not only is all that stuff, not only is there too much, and it's not saying anything, but they have to sit through all these long, boring action scenes. And for the people that came for the action scenes, even if they're entertained by these, they have to sit through these long, boring, circular, philosophical conversations, and they're not integrated well like they were in the first
Yeah, exactly.
film.
There's not a blend. And I know I've been talking about this a lot. It's kind of on the forefront of my mind because I've been going back through it again. But it kind of has that Lost problem, except that's within, it's in one piece because it's a series that's meant to be several seasons, and this didn't begin as a series. But you get that first season of Lost, and it appealed to different people on different levels, and then it got popular, and then it was trying too hard to continue to appeal to all those people, so it kept. So it does the same thing this does later on. It's ramping up the dramatic stuff that people come for in not interesting, irritating ways, and the mystery stuff gets too convoluted, and they're trying to keep impressing people and making them come back by adding too much mystery stuff. I mean, it's the same problem.
And now we're doing forward flashes, and what does that mean?
Well, I actually kind of like that stuff a little bit, but yeah.
I haven't watched it.
That cut is very strange. When you've got the POV from one big rig and then you do the POV from the other, I just don't think that works.
That all looks really bad.
It's really bad. And then I hate this reaction. Oh, I hate that. In the theater, that bothered me.
Yeah.
Where it's we're all supposed to be laughing. I don't know. I don't like it.
I don't think we're supposed to be laughing. I think we're supposed to be sharing his reaction. We're supposed to be hoping, but we're so numb at that point, I wasn't even aware they were in danger.
You're exactly right. Yeah, it's the movie telling me how I'm supposed to feel. It's overcompensating because it might know that I'm that numb right now.
Yep.
What's worse is later when we get that exact same shot, and I'm convinced they shot them back to back on the same day. When he goes, he caught her! I'm not watching the frickin' movie. I hate that!
Mm-hmm.
Don't ask me why I like watching this movie.
I don't know.
And even again, with everything we're talking about, you're still not making it impossible to go back to. It
They
should
look
be.
better. They look better than they did in the first movie.
Yeah. I think there's more going on with them, maybe? Am I
Yeah,
right? Is there more detail?
It feels like they're more detailed.
Okay, so now we are basically, telegraphing. We are now in the third act. We're going to have this big mission. It's going to be the big closing of the film. There is a building.
Is there a reason we're back in this room from the first movie?
I think it's because it's iconic, Eric.
Okay, because again,
No,
in the first two movies, or in the second and third movie, we do not bring back the loading room, which I think is one of the most iconic images in that first movie.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, this needs to happen in the Matrix because this guy's a program in the Matrix, and they need some kind of a place.
I'm not saying they should be doing it there. I'm saying
okay.
we had to bring this room back, but we didn't find a place to bring back the loading room. I think there are places that we could have brought back the loading room.
I'm not even sure this is the same room. I think it's just the same chairs.
Okay.
I think it's chairs that look like the chairs from the first.
That's his chair. That is definitely his chair from the first movie.
Maybe they just moved them around a little bit. Yeah, I have no idea.
Ghost is in this more than I thought. I think he has a really cool look. I wish he was in this more and had more to do.
I wish anybody had anything to do besides our main characters in this.
We also made the huge mistake of
all these
introducing
characters.
like 15 new characters.
Way too many characters.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, but Niobe is kind of nothing.
I've never cared about
I mean,
her.
and I like that actress fine. I mean, like, I want to love her, and I want to. She's got more chemistry with Morpheus than Trinity has with Neo. I'll say that.
You know what this needed?
But I mean, I guess she's just supposed to. I mean, yeah, she's an archetype. She's just not on screen enough. She doesn't get enough to do. But I mean, I guess. I guess she's supposed to be the character who believes in friendship over anything. And so she maybe doesn't even totally buy into Morpheus' religion, but she believes in
about
Morpheus.
loyalty.
Yeah.
You know what this script needed? Aside from like...
And she's also perfect at everything.
Yes. Which I think is... I don't think that's the like Mary Sue thing. I think there is a stereotype of like the best friend that's great at everything.
Yeah.
Like Samwise Gamgee falls into that. Like Samwise Gamgee makes no mistakes.
Well, here's the thing. It would feel like a Mary Sue thing if she was the only character in the movies with that problem. Mm-hmm. But like everybody
is
in different scenes feels like every one of them can do whatever we've decided in the moment that they can. Like if we suddenly said, "Oh yeah, Tank could pilot mechanical," you'd be like, okay, I guess he's a great pilot. I don't know. Like,
that necklace is absurd.
Yeah.
It's huge. Like, it's not like a small, like, it's not like Buffy's little crucifix. Like, it is absurdly large.
There's a question we had from the first movie that we need to address. And I think now would be a good time.
The murdering all the people in the hallway fight?
No.
Oh, okay.
I was just gonna yeah. I mean, I forgot about that. That's a good point. No, I was gonna say, are we still in 1999?
Oh yes. I was thinking about that when I brought up the cell phones.
It does
because
sort
the
of
cell
feel
phones,
like
the technology is advanced.
It feels like the technology has advanced a few years.
I guarantee you, in Matrix 4, the technology everyone will have smartphones.
Okay, well then they're going to be really hard pressed to keep doing the landline hardline thing.
Yeah,
and
no kidding.
If they do that, it's going to be stupid, and they need some other thing. They won't do this because you do a decades later sequel, and it's always about the iconography and the nostalgia and doing all the same stuff superficially you did before. Maybe the story will be a little bit different, but that's why they're bringing back all the same cast, right? But it needs to be a new Matrix that looks and works completely different.
Mm-hmm. Like your complaint with Terminator Dark Fate, where they're just... It's a completely alternate future that also ended up with skeleton robots.
Yeah, that started from a completely different place.
Yeah.
Why does it turn into skeleton robots again?
It's just the natural course that technology takes. It always ends up as skeleton robots.
That come up with time travel and think of the exact same way to try to stop John Connor from being born. Like, it's ridiculous.
It's just the natural progression of technology. But you know what the script needed for these 15 characters? They needed to let somebody, I'm not saying exactly these people, but somebody like a Tarantino or Robert Rodriguez or even a 2002 Kevin Smith to come in and punch up some of this dialogue and just make them a little bit more memorable. Make them a little bit more distinct as characters. Because I think because we've already said, most of these nothing characters are giving great performances.
Yes.
If you just punch them up a little bit and make them a little distinct or memorable, give them some lines that make them stand out or be likable or human.
Because I don't know enough about Niobe, and she's not drawn enough. And again, I understand the Matrix characters are archetypes, but even for the archetypal characters, these new characters aren't given enough like human moments, and we did get some of that with the first movie, even with some of the characters that we killed off that weren't on screen that much.
Yeah, like Mouse.
You get a moment, right? But I buy her as a captain.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying that performance is great. Like I buy her as a leader of one of these ships.
I don't feel bad when anyone dies. You feel bad when Mouse dies. You feel bad when Switch dies.
Yeah, even Switch, who was hardly there.
You feel bad when you think Tank dies.
Yes, exactly.
But
and that makes it even better when it turns out he's not dead.
I also think part of the problem is so at the beginning I said Zion is a complete inversion of what we thought it was, but the movie doesn't treat that like a reveal to us. I also feel like we don't introduce anyone. It is just a lived-in world. And that can work, and I love it when we do that in a lot of things.
Yeah.
This is a sequel. We came in with these characters we know, and now they're all buddy-buddy with all these people we've never met before. It's different than A New Hope, where, you're just thrust into a world. It would be like if Empire, you were just thrust into another world.
You've hit on something I never thought of. That's a big issue, which is that first movie has an ensemble cast, but it's from Neo's perspective.
Mm-hmm.
This movie wants to transition into an ensemble cast movie, into an ensemble story, and it's not working.
Yeah, it's not.
It's like it doesn't know which of those it should be, but do you feel like Neo is quite in the background?
Yeah, this is not Neo's story.
No.
It is on a plot level, kind of.
Yes. And it will feel more like it's supposed to have been his story the whole time when he walks into the room with the architect, but it isn't. He's in the background a lot. And, we compared this to Dark Knight earlier.
First and it'll be an even bigger problem, the third one.
Yes, of course.
We just lose Neo for half that
because
movie.
That movie is just a war epic that I don't care about. With machines that I don't buy have as hard of a time getting to Zion and destroying it as they do. I feel like they should have blown it up 11 years ago. I don't understand. But Neo is is at the end of this going to go in that room with the architect, and it's going to try to dupe you into thinking that the whole movie's really been about him. And it's just not. But I don't think they know that making it.
No. You know what it really feels like? And I know we say this about a lot of things.
Yeah.
But this may be more so than other things we've said this about. Really feels like a first draft.
Yes.
Really feels like a first draft.
Yeah, absolutely it does. Yeah, it feels like a first draft before it feels compromised. This doesn't feel like it's got a bunch of stuff cut out of it.
This feels like they let them do whatever they wanted.
Yes.
We trust you.
And again, in that way, it has that kind of prequel problem, where it feels like they weren't sure. I could see the Wachowskis doing the same thing Lucas did. Oh, all I need now is a story.
Well, it also feels like the thing that the prequels had, where the second he started making them, he's now on the timetable. He doesn't just have to have a story; he has to have a story by X deadline.
Yeah, that's what it feels like.
And it feels like they were told, make Matrix sequels, they will be released on these dates. And that's the only way it feels compromised, is they feel rushed.
Yeah.
Which is ridiculous, because they came out 4 years later?
And both of these movies are heavily storyboarded projects, so you can't walk into, you should never do this, but you can't walk into shooting without a completely finished script.
Yep.
Which is how you end up with first draft scripts that end up getting made into movies, where it's like, okay, you've got a deadline, we're going to go ahead and start storyboarding so that we can plan out all the visual effects. The story's not actually done, but we have to pretend like it is.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what ends up happening. I remember what I was going to say a minute ago. The first couple times I saw Dark Knight, I felt like Bruce Wayne was in the background a little bit too much.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's Batman's movie, but is it Batman's movie? And the more I've seen that movie, the more I felt like that's actually an ensemble movie that works better, certainly better than this, that I felt like Batman was in the background because I didn't realize what the story was trying to accomplish, which is you have like a dual protagonist story in that, where where Harvey Dent has the fall arc, and Bruce Wayne has has a different kind of arc. And that's why he can't be on screen the whole time, because you actually kind of have two protagonists, one who turns into an antagonist.
But also,
this is not that.
But also, everything about that movie is about Batman.
Yes.
Like on a thematic level, the ideas that Batman is struggling with himself is what the movie is about.
It drives everything. Even when he's not on
This movie is
screen.
not actually about causality or systems or like any of the things that Neo has been confronted with.
And when Neo makes the discovery at the end, it's just because somebody told him something. It's not like a journey he's been on. It's not an internal journey.
And they're not, and none of the, so because we have the thing with the Merovingian, we have the thing with the like all of these ideas of power and whether you control your own destiny. Not anything playing out in any scenes without Neo. Like, we're not seeing Niobe do things that reinforce the idea and theme of what Neo's arc is supposed to be about. In Dark Knight, everything is about the ideas and themes that Bruce is dealing with.
Yeah.
Because it's not about Neo. Neo is essentially a glorified plot device throughout this entire movie.
Yep. But you could say that about every character.
He's like a MacGuffin that is sent on a MacGuffin trail.
Yes! That's exactly right. I brought up Man of Steel earlier. It and Man of Steel have curiously kind of a similar problem in that the protagonist is kind of the MacGuffin. Mm-hmm. Man of Steel has that more egregiously because he's literally the thing the bad guy is after.
Those sunglasses do not look good in that shot.
No.
Why couldn't he just be wearing sunglasses in that shot? Why did they have to digitally put them there?
So the Keymaster is, or the Keymaker, excuse me, Keymaster is Ghostbusters. The Keymaker is another character with a performance I like a lot.
Yeah,
with a character that I
He's
don't
really enjoyable
care about because
so is the Architect.
The Architect's amazing.
But I don't think for any of the right reasons.
My wife completely disagrees with everybody that complains about the scene, and she loves the info dump, and she thinks that it's fine, and she doesn't understand why anybody has a problem with it.
It doesn't make any sense!
She lives for this scene.
It doesn't make any sense.
But this actor is amazing.
He is. And I feel like he is a type of actor that they didn't cast any of the normal people that would play this. Like, this is usually Terrence Stamp. This is usually Malcolm McDowell.
Yeah.
This is an actor that you don't see all the time playing a role that in any other movie would be occupied by, like, one of 6 actors.
Yeah. No, that's a great point. Or he could have been the guy from Silence of the Lambs.
Anthony Hopkins. Yeah. Okay. So, none of this makes sense with what we're told about the creation of the Matrix in the first movie. In the first movie, we're told that we created a perfect Matrix, humans rejected that, and then we had to create this crappy world. Because that's the only thing humans can accept, right?
Yeah.
None of that factors into any of this. And the idea that...
Which is funny because he actually brings that up again. He will talk about that.
Will he?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, we also have to have our discussion about...
Yeah, this is the 6th version.
Whether these are predictions or previous Neos.
I have no idea.
Because I think they're previous Neos.
Yeah, and I don't think that. They can't be, actually. Because there's only been 5 before him.
Do they all have completely different reactions? Or are there like 5 reactions? Okay.
I think they're all supposed to. I think the idea is that they're all supposed to be different.
It's every possible...
Yeah.
None of those seem like Neo, by the way.
No, they don't.
But I bet you Keanu Reeves had a lot of fun shooting those scenes.
Yeah, probably so. But I mean, he does say, I don't know, I think it lines up maybe better than you're saying it does, but I've always been weird about it, and every time I go back to this, I have to, like, rethink, like remember what my issues with it was, because he says a lot of random things. But he does say, like, this is the 6th version. We see, like the first one was a work of art. It was perfect.
Okay.
And then he says the failure was that the humans wouldn't accept it because humans are inherently imperfect. And so then he tried again.
Okay.
And so just each time he has to tweak it. And this is the 6th time, and it's good. And so basically his whole point is, I've now learned that at some point the Matrix is going to fail.
Okay.
And so the point of the 1 is to usher in the new Zion every time. And so we control Zion also.
Okay, so that is not how I understood this scene. I think you might be right. The way I understood this...
And again, I've seen it recently, but yeah.
...is...
So this is supposed to be a shattering disillusionment from Neo's perspective, where it turns out that, like, they're actually... Like they understand why there always has to be a revolution, and they built the revolution even into their system.
Well, yes, but... What I think he means at the beginning when because he's talking about like a mathematical like equation, right?
Yes.
My understanding was that it is ergo. My understanding is that I don't know. I guess I never thought about him improving it. It was more just that humans require that revolution to be able to keep moving forward. That he can't create a matrix that everyone can just live in,
like forever.
Yeah, mathematically, like statistically, whatever. The Neo, like the 1 has to happen, and then the revolution has to happen, and then it resets, and we do it again. That's the only way to keep people controlled.
Yeah. But it's not just the Matrix that gets reset. They also destroy Zion every time.
Well, that makes sense, because if they stumbled upon a Zion...
Yeah. So he's saying, and that was the big thing I was surprised by the first time I saw this, is that they know about Zion, and they've destroyed it several times also. I don't know how much sense that makes, because it feels like Zion is supposed to be like a multi-generational place. Like, I don't get... Like... The problem is, wouldn't they have to be way farther in the future than we're told they are?
Yes. I believe they are.
Oh, okay.
But also, so he has to pick... Essentially, the 1 makes the prophecy of the 1, right? So he is the one that breaks them out of the Matrix and creates Zion, and we're told he will come again.
Morpheus thinks the 1 is Jesus, the 1 is actually Noah.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying?
Yes. Well...
Because he has to start civilization over.
Yes. But... I feel like there's something I was just thinking about that's probably... There's so much going on in this scene.
Real quick.
What makes Neo special? Why is he the only one? We have all of these questions about causality and choice. We don't get any kind of explanation or exploration of why is Neo different. Especially because he's such a flat stock character.
Well, and the thing is, you could have done something with that, but I don't think they realize how flat and stocky he is. Like, I think the idea
to be more human,
or they need to talk about how flat and stocky he is, because I think the idea might be that
that is how he's special.
The only thing that's special about him is that he is predetermined to be the 1. That's it. There's actually not anything special about him. It's just he is the 1. He's programmed to be that way. But why this was always inevitable. It was going to happen.
But why is he special enough to make the other choice? He is the first one to make the other choice.
Oh, I see what you mean.
What makes him special here?
Right. And the idea is supposed to be that this time around, it's different, which is why we're watching this one and not any of the other 5.
But why?
No, I know. But what I'm saying is, the idea is supposed to be that for some reason, when you get to the end of the 3rd movie, now we're able to have the perfect utopia, because Neo was different. I don't know why. No, you're absolutely right.
Okay, I want to see if he says that there's a system shutdown, because I'm pretty sure he says that there's a system shutdown.
He doesn't, I don't think. I'm not sure. Yeah, he's about... Yeah, so he just says, you have hope. It's just your greatest strength, your greatest weakness. And then he's going to say, I hope you should hope we don't meet again. And then he's going to leave. That's it.
But that's
the scene.
But there's a choice. You save Trinity, or you do what you're supposed to do, right? And he makes the choice that all of the other ones failed to make. Everyone else, like, realized that what they needed to do was necessary, and they choose the other door. Right? He's the one that chooses not to comply when he gets to that point.
The architect doesn't seem all that surprised that he makes that choice.
No.
He just goes, "Pff, of course," and then and he's like, look, she's gonna die. I mean, like, he's basically acting like no matter what Neo does, inevitably it's gonna work out the way it does.
But it doesn't.
Yeah,
I always interpret that as he is the one to make this choice.
Is he being the kind of the other side of the Oracle, trying to do what the Oracle does, which is tell Neo what he needs to hear, and it backfires on him?
I don't know.
I really don't know what we're supposed to take from that scene at the end of the day.
No, like, I don't know what it means to Neo. I don't know.
That doesn't look good at all.
What did Neo, like, aside from, like, no, it doesn't. Aside from anytime there's people on screen at CGI, that looks fine, though.
Yeah, I like that.
Because that's probably just, like, the Superman effects.
Right.
But, like, what does any of that
mean? But I meant
mean
specifically that explosion
to
in that
Neo
building.
as an individual person that makes it different this time? What is different about Neo? And we're specifically saying that he is different in that his thing is love. Other the ones had different, and maybe it's that. Is that what's different? Is that his is love?
Is it just that they didn't have a trinity, and then
their weakness was like the other was like something else? We're given so much, but not what we need.
No, that's exactly
to understand it.
Well, the thing is, nothing he does is surprising to the audience.
No,
I hate that. It's the worst.
Yep.
Oh, he caught her. Yeah,
that's
I know.
The dumb moviegoer reaction.
I was watching this. Yeah, and he's supposed to be the audience because he's watching it.
But I never believed he wouldn't.
Exactly. You know, that's what he's going to do.
Because he's had no challenge in this movie.
Not only
or it doesn't feel like he has challenge. Because, like, the fights don't have any tension because Neo can take everybody out immediately. But we treat them like they're real fights.
Right. But also, of course he's going to take the love conquers all approach. It's what saved him last movie. You had what watched like essentially a magic kiss in that last movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going to say that it's as bad as, Superman and Man of Steel and BVS, where, like, she's the only thing that he cares about.
No.
But, like, at the end of the day, he's always going to put her first. So,
and if
it's just not that surprising.
If love is the thing that makes Neo different, if he is the one that his weakness is his love.
Yeah.
Boy, I need to buy their chemistry. If your entire character hinges on love, I need to believe he is in love.
Because not only does he watch like a plot device, but she watches like his plot device.
Yep.
And also keep in mind that every time he's put friendship or love or whatever you want to call it first, he's always succeeded. So it's not just Trinity. Last movie, despite all odds, he's going after Morpheus. Because he believes that he can do what no one else has ever done before because he has the motivation to do it. To go up against the agents and rescue Morpheus. This is no different than that, except the stakes are higher.
Do you feel that the problems with...
See, again, he's the audience. We're all supposed to be feeling like he does. Oh my god, it's so overwhelming. It's the worst.
Is the problem with Neo's powers... Is it literal, like, universal constrictions? If we write him too powerfully, we don't know how to write him. Or are they just that unimaginative? Can they not think of things for him to do with his... Because, like, I'm looking at him...
Or are they afraid to be too imaginative because now they're writing for a more general audience?
Because I'm looking at him, like, literally, like, repumping her heart.
Yeah.
Which is very literal.
Yeah,
Could he not create electricity and, like, just... do that? Like, could he make electricity inside of her body and restart her heart like a defibrillator?
Isn't that thematically more interesting? Because we humans are what power the machines?
Yeah.
And so if he did, like, an electricity thing where he, like, creates a bat, like, isn't that more interesting?
But can Neo do anything beyond the literal physical. Can he control lightning? Could he move buildings in the Matrix because he knows their code? I thought he could in the first movie. Like, going out of the first movie and the second movie, I would think, like, the climax is Neo throwing buildings. Like, because he understands the Matrix is a computer program and he has mastery over that.
Yeah.
He can do anything.
Yeah.
And even if it's not to that extreme, all he does is physical things. It's all fighting and even, like, literally pumping her heart, and it's very strange, right? Like, it seems so limited.
So I just thought of something that, unless I'm wrong about this...
And he only flies because he flies at the end of the last movie, right?
Exactly, yeah.
He wouldn't do that if they hadn't done that.
So I just thought of... And then they use it as a crotch. But of something that is very contradictory, I think, to... something about the creation of the matrices after the first one, mentioned in the first movie, which is the speech that Morpheus has where he says there was a man who was born inside who could recreate the Matrix in his own image. If every time after that first Matrix they have set it up where the point of the one is to recreate everything, it's not in his own image, is it? Is it every time?
But is that just the lie of the myth? Does he tell them the Matrix is being recreated? But then, like, it's still bad and people are still there.
But even if it is in... Maybe I'm wrong. Yeah, maybe even if it is in his image, his image is actually their image because they created him.
Yes.
Yeah, but maybe that's what it is.
It still doesn't make sense to the humans. Because if he could remake the Matrix in his own image, and that's what the lie that he tells the survivors is, why would he make a continued Matrix where people don't know that they're in the Matrix and you have to keep rescuing them? Why would that be, in the myth of the one, why is that what he makes the Matrix?
Yeah. And why is this one able to break out of it, like you suggested earlier, where he actually makes kind of a utopia? Well, and actually, what we'll find at the end of the third movie is that everybody who's self-aware that's still inside is able to create things in the Matrix themselves. He doesn't actually completely redo it, because you have that little girl, that little Mid-Eastern girl who, like, makes a sunrise or something, and I never understood what all that was, but...
Okay, so you and me and everyone else on the planet saw that scene.
He stops...
and said it's a Matrix within a Matrix.
He stops the machine. He's in the real world. He does exactly the kind of thing he can do in the Matrix. He's got power over the machines. It seems like he must be... that must mean that he is, kind of... like risen to a new level in his video game and discovered that he is actually inside of a Matrix within a Matrix.
Well, and it also sets up the interesting systemic idea and the causality idea that you don't actually have control. That they created Zion, and you think that means that they sent people out.
Yeah.
They literally created an outer digital shell, and you never actually escape from the Matrix.
And who knows how many layers it goes.
You just need to believe that you've escaped from the Matrix, and that is what keeps you docile as a human slave.
Yeah. And everybody that's unjacked is still jacked.
Yes.
And they've actually been using all of us the whole time.
Yep.
So all of this is a lie to continue to keep us dormant.
Yes.
And they've been in control of us the entire time.
That is obviously where the movie should have gone.
Yes.
What it actually is in
And I don't know what that third movie looks like, but it's so much more interesting, especially because so much of that third movie takes place...
It's him fulfilling the prophecy, but for real, right? He breaks people out into the actual real world, and, like... I mean, like, that movie has a really...
But you never know if you're really in the real world. You could so easily end that movie going, it's still aired.
That's true.
You'd never know.
That's true.
And even if you did know, you wouldn't know.
That's true.
Right? And that could also be really interesting, Like, are you still part of a, system?
We haven't seen him in, like, 2 hours.
No! Like, and I think they're thinking that the soundtrack has a little bit of the Smith theme in it, so that's enough to tell you that, but not everybody's going to pick up on that. It took me 2 viewings before I totally got what that... And I think it's kind of a good cliffhanger, if you know it.
Yeah.
But that guy should have come back a few times.
It should be more a recurring subplot.
But what I was going to say is, the biggest problem with Matrix Revolutions is that we're not hardly ever in the Matrix. and I just don't care to watch the real world that much, and it's this big war thing, and it's a war I don't care that much about, and so it's just really boring. But if it was a Matrix inside of a Matrix, you've never left the Matrix.
Yeah.
So isn't that cooler?
But what I think it is in the narrative...
And then suddenly Neo could do all the cool Matrix stuff he does in the real world fighting those machines, and wouldn't you rather watch that?
Yeah, absolutely. But, so, I also forgot how much Smith just drops out of this movie.
Yeah.
No wonder you forgot that there was a secret Smith. You forgot Smith was in this movie. And
that's because it's only half of the movie.
What I think is happening... Okay, so here's the thing. What's actually happening in the film, and not the Matrix within the Matrix, which is the obvious way that ending should go, and thematically, that's clearly where it should be going, is... What? Like... If the machines are all connected to the Matrix, and that's why he can control them.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't he know that before? We didn't learn anything. He didn't learn anything that would suggest that now he gets it. You'd think he would have tried it before.
Yeah.
Because why wouldn't the machines be connected to the Matrix? They're all part
how
of the
did
same
the conversation
system.
with the architect lead him to even attempt that?
But...
Yeah, that's a good point.
Well, and I also don't know... Okay, if you remove the scene with the architect...
Yeah.
And he just goes and saves Trinity and doesn't confront the architect. Does anything change about this movie or the next movie, and specifically in regards to Neo? Does he learn anything that makes him act or do things differently than he would have?
Nothing changes for Neo. Things change for Morpheus, certainly.
Yeah.
But nothing changes for Neo. And I do have to say, I love Fishburne's performance when he has the shattering disillusionment, and he starts to question his faith. And I like that it's... And again, it's not explored enough, it's not brought enough to the forefront, but the initial general idea of your belief system is rooted in truth, but it's not correct, is so much worse than if it was all a lie.
Yes. Yes.
That I like.
Not only is it not correct, but it's almost the opposite.
Yes. Where you were actually worshiping the very thing you were fighting.
Yeah, it's like finding
Right?
out that believing in Jesus is the way to go to hell.
He's believing in the devil, actually.
Yeah.
That's what it really is.
Yeah.
Because it turns out that Jesus is just part of a system that is about worshiping the devil.
Yeah.
Now back to your thing about the machines being connected to the Matrix. Why? Why would all of the squiddies be connected? The point of the Matrix is just to keep people docile so they can use them as batteries. That is it. There's no... And, furthermore, go back to the Animatrix. And you've got that machine in that last vignette that we didn't like very much, because it's long and dull and there's not a lot going on in it, but it's kind of pretentious. It like has a machine going like into the Matrix. Into like its own Matrix. Mm-hmm. Doesn't make any sense if they're all connected to the Matrix.
Well, and also, like, if I remember correctly, Neo doesn't really use that power in the third one.
He does. Yeah, he does too. Because he uses it in order to get to the mainframe.
Oh yeah.
Remember?
Yeah.
Because he's got to blow up a whole bunch of them as they're going like over up to the rainbow and all of that.
Okay.
Or like up over the clouds.
Is the idea, assuming I'm right about the systems and the collectivism and the individualism.
Yeah.
Is what's different this time not Neo? It's Smith?
Oh, interesting.
That's what's different this time. And that's why they have to play it differently, because they can't beat Smith, only Neo can.
But if that's the case, then Neo is not interesting at all.
But also...
And that makes Smith the counter, the one, which, I mean, he is.
But it also makes a complete happenstance that he decided to blow him up that way, and it just happened to...
Well, yeah, absolutely.
Which I guess maybe could be saying something about everything's random, but...
And I mean, I guess it could be kind of fun if, like, Smith accidentally creates the opposite of what he wants, but that makes Neo a plot device for Smith. That makes Smith the real Neo, basically, for the sake of the franchise, anyway.
But that's the only thing I think of that would be different this time, is they've never had Smith before.
Yeah. And all of that happened... Maybe?
Is that what's different this time?
Maybe.
Is it just Smith?
Oh, no. And then all of that also happens, as you said, by happenstance because of the way Neo happens to kill him.
Yeah, which he never does again, and apparently none of the other ones ever did before.
Never thought to do that. And why did he even do it that way?
That seems like a thing you would discuss in a movie about, like, did you choose to do something or not?
Yeah.
What led you to kill him that way?
Yeah. Yeah, why did you jump inside of him?
What if they're both the one? What if they're split the one because he embedded on him, they both have different parts of the one?
Well, that's actually talked about. That
Okay.
that actually is kind of the case.
Okay.
Kinda. Which is why he's able to do all the stuff that he can do. And then at the end, he's gonna try to assimilate, or he actually is gonna assimilate Neo, but then it doesn't take, and he's able to blow him up and be the one. And yeah. This song was popular.
But is it, at the end of the day, just like collectivism, individuality, and system? It's just like, well, collectivism is bad. That's the thing we have to stop.
Yeah.
Okay. Like assuming my interpretation is correct. Like, is that it? And, like, that's the thing that's different, is this time, Smith,
It's that, and also, like, everybody should have a say, I guess.
Yeah.
You know? It's that, like...
I'm really worried that the only thing different this time is Smith.
Oh, man, I think you might be right about that.
And then, like, there's nothing special or important about Neo at all.
Oh, it's a real train wreck.
Or Smith lets him be able to be special and different and unique. But then that needs to be discussed. Smith needs to say, you're only able to be the different, the one, because of what I've done.
Anything about that being talked about would have been great. Because there's a lot of things that just kind of happen, and then they do talk a lot and throw out a lot of platitudes and stuff, but it doesn't feel like we're talking about what the movie's about. Like, really?
You know what fixes this movie a little bit? Not any of the thematic stuff, but like the pacing and the structure and stuff.
Yeah.
Take all the talkie scenes that lead into the cut scenes, right? You take all the cut scenes that lead into the action scenes, make them the same. If Neo's gonna fight all of those guys, put the Merovingian there and have that conversation while they're fighting.
Be great.
Right? Like,
absolutely.
Like, Smith and Neo should be having their conversation while they're fighting. Like, imagine Neo having a conversation with all of these different Smiths who keep coming up and continuing the conversation as he punches them away.
Yeah, none of the action in this entire movie actually progresses narrative.
Yeah, you mix them, right? And then the movie's shorter.
There's long fight scenes in the first movie, but part of it is I'm more invested in the characters.
You think they can die, and some of them do die.
Yeah, exactly. And
they feel more connected to the plot. Like saving Morpheus is not just a fetch quest.
Well, not just saving him, but also getting him kidnapped isn't just fight. He got kidnapped.
Yeah.
There was a progression to getting there. You didn't know if the agents would be able to get him. There's some subterfuge. There's some like jumping through walls and people coming from where you didn't expect them to come from, and we're hiding from them for a while, and there's some actual suspense. There's no suspense in this movie.
No. I was right, it's Brides of Dracula. Called that.
Wow, good job. Is anybody else concerned that we're gonna spend a lot of that third movie trying to come up with anything to talk about?
Because we did it all here.
Yeah.
Because we kind of talked about 1 and 2.
Well, you can't help it, because that's where the ending is.
Yep.
So I mean, we'll do it.
I have
and we'll
my
see
whole
where it
thing
goes.
that I've already explained to you about the train station.
Yes, but you haven't said that.
That's all I've got.
In a microphone yet.
That's all I've got going into that.
Well, we can resort to MST3King it if we need to.
I don't know it
we'll
well
do
enough
it.
to do that. I haven't seen it in theaters. It was so boring. I owned this movie and rewatched it multiple times. I never sought out the third one, but I do own it, which I don't remember.
Oh, so this does the same thing that I didn't realize that this was at the end of this, because I've never bothered to watch all the way to the end of the credits. But this does exactly what Back to the Future 2 does.
Yeah.
Where it has a commercial for the next movie, which makes sense because they shot them together.
Yeah.
But maybe I should save this point, but since this is still going, I will go ahead and say it real quick, and then maybe I'll mention it again next commentary. But Reloaded and Revolutions should have had... I mean, you would have to change the stories, but the story should be different anyway. But they should have had flipped titles, I think.
Yeah, 'cause
the
you reload the Matrix
Revolution
at the
is
end.
in your second movie, and then you reload and you suggested that the Matrix Takedown should be in this movie. Then you'll reload it in the third movie, and you actually get to live in the new one for a while.
And you do a new thing. You offer a solution.
Yeah, that's what you do.
Because I feel like the end of that third movie is
I wanted to mention that
ambiguous,
here because that
but
piggybacks off a thing you said.
I think the third movie's ending is unintentionally ambiguous.
Yeah.
Like, it's supposed to be optimistic. Maybe it is intentional.
But
it's too ambiguous.
I don't know if how. Yeah,
we
I don't know
can
how
come back
optimistic
for
it
a
is.
fourth movie. Like, regardless of what this actual fourth movie is, we come back for a fourth movie and nothing's gotten better. It's worse. Nothing about the ending of that third. We'll see. I haven't seen it since theaters, but nothing about the ending of that movie, the way I remember it, is actually hopeful. Other than, like, I guess we'll start working together now.
I want to get to the opening of but like I don't know what any of that looks like. I don't know what the status quo is going to be. I want to get to the beginning of the fourth movie and
It
the
is the
architect
Matrix within the Matrix.
and the architect has been just sitting on that park bench for 20 years, and like the architect and the Oracle just like hang out in public together, and like everybody knows what they are. What would be really cool is if right away you have a Matrix where everybody knows they're in a Matrix.
What?
Like, I don't know what that story is, but I think that could be cool, because we talked about this with when we did the first movie where we were jumping ahead. You never get like Smith starts taking over everybody, and so they're all Smiths. So you never get to see a Matrix where people start realizing that they're in a Matrix, where everything is changing so much.
Which is
what is going on? I want that movie.
Yeah, because we spent the whole time talking about this. I feel like I said most of what I had to say in our commentary of the first one, where
about that.
This is in no way the movie that should have followed the Matrix.
No,
like Neo flying in the middle of the city is a proclamation that things are different now.
Yeah,
and
people should have noticed that, and a lot of other things he does after that. And he says, "I'm going to show you a world that doesn't need," and then he doesn't do that.
Do you know about these dual commentaries? They have a commentary track.
I haven't listened to them, but you've told me about them.
They have a commentary track from philosophers who like the movie and explaining why it's smart, and they have a commentary track from critics who don't like the movie and explaining why it's bad.
That's pretty awesome, actually.
I've never listened to them. I just know they exist.
Yeah, I should listen to that at some point.
But what if the trailer for The Matrix 4 opens up?
I'm so nervous
and
about
goes,
that because that's
you
gonna be a
thought
train
you
wreck.
brought a revolution.
I hope it's not.
But it was just another layer. What if they do The Matrix and The Matrix and reveal that all of this was
actually a Matrix and a Matrix?
It was just a way to control, and humans are still, no one's ever escaped, and they're still.
I think they.
What if the Wachowskis just had the idea where they're like, well, that is obviously where we should have gone with that.
For 20 years, they've heard people say that's what it should be. They're like, okay, fine,
right.
I mean, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Why didn't we think of that?
Yeah.
I think you would have to retcon things in order to keep it in the same continuity as much as you did from 1 to 2, and I also could not care less that you did that.
Yeah.
So, like, sure. Like, fine. If you have to do that.
I can't imagine no one wants it.
No.
No one wants
I don't know if it'll perform.
I see posts whenever it pops up.
Don't you think that could not make any money?
Yep.
I mean, and the thing, as much as I love The Matrix, and I even enjoy this movie, as much as we predicted, we pretty much just complained about it. I said some positive things.
Yeah.
Mostly superficial, but just this stuff is fun. But, like, as much as I love this universe, and we made great cases, I think, the Animatrix made great cases that we talked about for other stories you could tell and how you could serialize this.
But not The Matrix 4.
No, but what I'm saying is, I love this as a universe, and I think you could have done more stories in it.
You could do an HBO TV series, or...
But as much as I feel that way, I don't want the same cast to come back and to try to fix this. I don't want any attempt to fix this. What I want is a full-on reboot, or something that takes place earlier. I mean, I can't believe I'm saying prequel stuff, but you could do a good prequel to The Matrix. Or go way in the future.
But it doesn't have to be a prequel the way, like, the Morpheus movie was supposed to be a prequel. It could just be in this setting at an earlier point in time. It doesn't have to be a prequel.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I don't know.
But I'm just saying, if you did a movie about the Matrix being created in the first place, I mean, that is, on the face of it, a prequel. Exactly the way, Krypton is a prequel. Like,
I think they think these movies have been reassessed, and they have not.
No, not at all.
No one's...
Do you think they're going to make the same mistake they made in the first place, where, like, they didn't really understand why people related so much to that first movie? Like, I couldn't,
because Wachowski's never Like, they don't really speak publicly. They don't do interviews.
Yeah.
So it's really hard to get a grasp on what they really think.
Yeah.
Or what they really feel. But, well, and it's not both of them. It could be all the bad ideas came from the one that's not working on the movie.
That's true. Yeah, only one of them. I forget which one, but yeah.
I think it's Lana. I think Lana is the one that's writing it.
Okay.
But like, whenever I see posts on Facebook or whatever about Matrix 4, there are never positive comments. There are positive comments for everything. Like,
Yeah.
I never see positive comments.
Nobody's
for
going,
Matrix 4.
yay, more Matrix. Like,
Even people
more
I think that like the sequels are like, why more?
I'm gonna go this far. More people want a third Tron movie than want more Matrix.
Well, they're getting it.
Yes, they are. Well, apparently.
I like Tron Legacy. I've never rewatched it from theaters, but I had an enjoyable film-going experience.
I had one thing that took me out, and I couldn't enjoy that movie as much as I wanted to, and nobody agrees with me on it. And I don't know, it's a thing. I may go back and try to reassess it at some point, but
There's that guy.
I can't deal with a character in the real world in Tron who looks like a digital effect. You can do that if you're inside that world,
but it's
like,
not something that they have to deal with now because it has. I mean, it was a trailblazer, right? Like Captain Marvel exists because Tron Legacy did that.
Is that true?
Well, I mean that's the first major de-aging.
Is that the first thing that tried to do that? Yeah.
I mean, aside from like what X-Men 3, like the beginning of X-Men 3, like that's a major step forward in doing that, I think.
But it doesn't. But the thing is, was that actually de-aging? Because it doesn't look like de-aging. It looks like a CG model of a character.
I'm pretty sure it's de-aging, and it just looks bad. Because it is de-aging in X-Men 3 and X-Men Origins, and they both look awful.
Right, but they
like
don't.
Patrick Stewart's face looks like offset.
Right, but it still looks like a real person that you put a visual effect on. Like that's Uncanny Valley. This is not Uncanny Valley.
I'm
like,
pretty sure it is.
well, I'm just saying. To me, it never looked like Uncanny Valley.
No, I mean, I'm pretty sure it is an effect
it is
on Kurt Russell. Is it Kurt Russell?
No, it's not Kurt Russell.
Not
It's
Kurt Russell.
Jeff Bridges.
Just Jeff Bridges. There is a scene in that movie that makes me laugh so much. I also love the guy that runs the bar. He's having so much fun.
No. The de-aging for Kurt Russell was in Guardians 2.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Is that Kurt Russell?
It's Kurt Russell.
That's
Kurt Russell.
Yeah.
Yep. Anyways.
I watched Escape from L.A. a couple weeks ago with my wife. That was fun.
I enjoy the movie quite a bit. It's not as good as the first one, but I still enjoy it.
Oh, I think it's better.
Yeah, but you've got weird set issues with that first one.
I do. I have a hard time watching it, and also I think that's one of the coolest endings to an action movie ever.
I agree. I mean,
Escape from LA.
Yes. And I wish they'd made Escape from Earth.
The whole no more technology.
Because that was supposed to be the third one.
So cool. Was it really?
Yeah, Escape from Earth.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Wait, do they make Earth a prison?
I don't know.
Is Earth a prison?
I don't know if Earth is a prison in that. They didn't really talk that much about it, except that it's supposed to be Escape from Earth.
Well, anyway, man, now I gotta look into that. I gotta know. I hope there's a script. Anyway, everybody, thanks a lot for listening. Hope you enjoyed it. We will be back in the not-too-distant future for the last Matrix movie, and we will make that as entertaining as humanly possible. Eric, thanks for doing it with me.
Yeah.
You had so many good ideas about this, and I really enjoyed talking about it with you.
That's good.
Well, we'll see you next time, guys. I'm Captain Logan.
And I'm Eric.
Bye.